Da-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Ba-na-na-na-na-na. What? I feel like I need to come up with like a more professional start. I don't know. I don't know. Do I? Do I have to come up with a more professional start? Have like a piece of music? Like, hey there, welcome to the Canadian Commie. Hey Matthew, how you doing today? Wednesdays are turning into like my sort of quasi, I guess, spiritual day. It's like turning into the day where I just sort of walk around my neighborhood, take a look at what's going on in my neighborhood, go sit on the beach, stare at the sky. Good to see you, that guy. Good to see you, Command Genius. It's been a minute. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit more, I think, from a what people have begun to call a mental health perspective, right? That my opinion, Methane, good to see you. My opinion is that people are talking about mental health. We're hearing a lot about mental health. Transylvanian, good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Always a pleasure. People are talking a lot about mental health these days. There's all this conversation about mental health. Well, I don't think it is a conversation about mental health. I think that we are struggling and dealing on a spiritual level. I think that we are dealing with a spiritual crisis. That's what this is. And we're articulating it in a secularized way, in a kind of materialist mental health kind of way. And I feel like that allows the system of capital to convince us that the solution is to be sold products, right? So that's the reason why it's framed in that way. That it's not a crisis of our spirit. It's not an existential crisis. It's not something that we need to sit down and contemplate and think about and meditate on. It's not something that we need to carve time out of the system of capital in order to find resolution. No, it's a physical thing that you're physically going through. So here's a pill. That they want to sell us a product, so it's a mental health crisis. Clunker John, good to see you. DJ, absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Oh, I just spilt that on myself. That's fun. What good way to start the stream. Have a little drink. Ugh, how to tell you're getting older. Although, I guess I'm getting younger anyway. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, Command Genius. First of all, it's good to take breaks, right? It's good to take breaks and to try to get into a position of ignorance is bliss, is as I like to say, right? Sometimes it's just good to disconnect and just sort of spend time away and not worry so much about stuff. Yeah, Bell, let's talk. Yeah, exactly. Keep capital involved in your system. Keep capitalism in your mind always. Capitalist realism. Capitalism is inescapable. Don't under any circumstances consider the possibility that capitalism is the problem. You need to include capitalism in your system of thought. You can't think and contemplate about what life would be like without the system of capital. Involve us. Talk to us. Bell, let's talk. Yeah, right. Command Genius, my advice for you, especially as you're such a young man, is don't worry so much about becoming an ist. That's really it. That, like, you don't need to be like a hoax-haist or a Maoist or a Dangist or any of these ists. That chances are good that Hoxha's critique of Mao was probably accurate. Like, most genuine critics of people, like genuine critics, are accurate, right? And that's the reason why they're successful, is that they have an accurate critique. And because the reality is that you can always find a critique for someone. There's always a critique to be had. Eric, good to see you, my man. I'm going to get to your stuff for sure. You can always find a critique of a person. Always. And as you get older and as you get good at it, it's easy to do. It's not hard to critique someone, right? Like critics are humans rather are full of things to critique, and there's always something to criticize, and everyone's perspective is criticizable. That the best operators, the best people in the society, hear the critique about them and say, no, that's accurate, and you know what, I'm fine with it. That's usually the position that good leaders and good thinkers find themselves in. That when they receive a criticism of themselves that's accurate, they think to themselves, that is an accurate critique, and I'm not going to change. That's accurate, and I agree, and I accept it. Because usually the critique doesn't have a solution, and the people who are operating understand that to do something different would take them down a path that they don't want to go down or to accept. That they know what they're doing, and they know the way they're operating, and they've accepted it, right? So I think it's good to read critiques and read what everybody has to say in order to learn and forge your own kind of thinking and all this kind of stuff. And I think that you should just free yourself. I think that you should just free yourself from the idea that you need to pick a side. You don't need to pick a side. That's sort of where I'm landing on this, is that you just don't need to pick a side. You don't need to be like, Mao was this and Hawks was right and Deng had this, and you don't need to. It's not relevant. Right? That they all have flaws, and they're all going to have flaws, and they're all going to, and those flaws usually are pretty understandable, right? It's pretty understandable why people act the way they act and how people do, and you don't need to choose. It's just not something you need to do. Not really. So that's my advice for you. Good to see you, Command Genius. Bell, let's talk. This is the best, that guy. That's probably the best thing you could have said in that moment. Literally, mental health. Bell, let's talk. Forget about communicating with your creator. Forget about spending time and meditating. Forget about connecting with yourself on a serious level. Forget about realizing that you can't really do that because you're dealing with the system of capital, right? Forget about any of that. No. Bell, let's talk. Eric comes in hot. Good evening. I just have to rant. Let's take a minute and read what Eric has to write. I had a debate with my aunt about communism today, where she gets so pissed off that I refute all of her arguments. Aha. The real reason we all show up to the Canadian Commie, to be able to refute our aunties. That's right. So when your drunken uncle yells at you at Thanksgiving, you know what to say. That's the real reason we're all here, guys. Today was her saying to me that communism fails because they took all their educated people and forced them to be laborers. Yeah, source required. I'm going to need a pretty heavy source for that. I don't know why any society would ever do this. What are you talking about? Hey, I'm an astrophysicist. You want me to break rocks with a pickaxe? Like, are they stupid? Like, it's just so, like, how dumb do they think we are? Like, how dumb do they actually think we are? She made that comment after I listened to this Asian girl who said that she had fled when the communists took over. Yeah, the Asian girl, like, yeah, you ask her what her parents did, and you're like, oh, my parents were slave plantation owners. You're like, oh... I had to flee when the communists took over. Oh, they took my slave plantation. My remark was, I wonder if her family was a wealthy family. Yeah, they didn't want to have their wealth seized. Yeah. Which, of course, the CBC interview didn't ask that part. Why would they? Well, so what did your family do? No comment. No, of course. It's always like the evil communists took our land away from us where we had all of our slaves. My aunt was pissed off at me that I couldn't just listen. I pointed out to her that, typically speaking, to the people who fled during the communist revolutions were the ones that had vast amounts of wealth, yet the capitalists and the slaveholders, right? The gusanos. And sometimes literally Nazis. Like, sometimes it's just literally Nazis, right? Then today she also tried to bring up the Holodomor. Yeah, I'll just take any evidence. Like really at this stage of the game, like we have a genocide happening right in front of us, right? I've been having talks with people recently who have been really, really struggling with their mental health. And that's the reason why I want to constantly be talking about mental health today. Because I think that there are people who listen in and who are on my Discord and who are talking about their own personal mental health and how their mental health is degrading. And it is degrading, right? It's every action that you take is now tainted with this realization that we are a genocidal nation and that we are committing a genocide. That the weapon that we have been wielding against our enemies, the accusation that we wield against our enemies, we are now wielding openly, and it's obvious, right? And so, look, and it's gotten very simple. It's gotten very simple. Can you show me any evidence whatsoever that even begins to merit our consideration on the level of this? That the Israelis have straight up said to our faces openly in a document that we have and you can read, that they have confirmed, that they have written, that says outright that our intention is to ethnically cleanse this region. Can you show me anything even remotely close on that level? At all. Like, forget about your little sideways stuff. Forget about your little thing. We literally have an admission from Netanyahu's mouth. Do you have something like that for Stalin? Do you have something like that for Xi Jinping? If not, I don't care. I don't care. All you're doing is regurgitating CIA and Nazi propaganda, and I'm not interested. I'm no longer in a place where I feel like I need to prove something about the Holodomor. Do you have this? No? Goodbye. We're good. Take the small blessing from the Palestinian genocide, that it completely collapses the entire narrative that comes out of the capitalist death cult in regards to their accusations of genocide on other nations. Oh, do we have Stalin doing a speech? Do we have a piece of evidence from Stalin? No? Then I don't care. And I don't see why anyone should. Claims made without evidence can be rejected without evidence. So I'm not going to waste my time on it anymore. I pointed out to the fact that there was a systematic famine in part of the world every decade. It was the communists who put an end to it. I also point out to her how the capitalists resisted the collectivization of grain. She tried to put the blame on the USSR, but I also point out how the capitalists today are destroying food. Yeah, capitalists literally throw away 40% of their food. The amount of waste that these capitalist nations produce while also supporting mass famines. There's a starvation happening in Yemen right now. We could just be shipping food over there, but we don't, for obvious reasons. Yeah, she scoffs it off as I'm the most insane person in the world, yeah. We're the insane ones. Maybe we could feed people. That's crazy. I'm a Christian. Then again, she has repeatedly compared me to Donald Trump. Fake news. Fake news. That's right. That's right. We're Donald Trump over here. That's what we're doing. Right? We can't wait to do a Muslim ban. Absolutely. We're all on board with that. I actually found a free audiobook for Capitalist Realism. I could put, yeah, please do. That sounds good. Yeah, Ligon to Z, good to see you, by the way. No, John. Innocent slave plantation owners. That's right. So what did those slave plantation owners ever do to deserve that? How dare people fight back against slave owners? Don't they know that slave owners are the real job creators? Right? That if it wasn't for those slave owners owning those slaves, the slaves would just enjoy their lives in peace. That's terrible. That's just terrible. You can't have people just enjoying life, waking up and doing a small amount of labor in order to feed and clothe themselves and the people around them, and then just enjoying the time that they have. That's barbarism. They're much better off now working 16-hour days in the heat, right? They're much better now. Your aunt was kind of right when she said intellectuals were kicked from their positions, but the ones kicked were reactionary intellectuals. Yeah, like, I'm sure that when the communists took power, they looked at the intellectuals who were saying, like, capitalism is good, actually. The Tsar is good, actually. And we're like, no. Like, if I were to suddenly be the president of the United States, I would, the first thing I would do would be, like, to ditch people like Sam Harris. I would just immediately just be like, yeah, you're a fraud. Like, I don't give a shit that you're an intellectual. Like, bye. Like John Bolton. Like, John Bolton would be like, oh, we're just going to send you to the Hague, John Bolton, as like a pro-war propagandist. Like Goebbels, right? We're just going to send you to the Hague. And everybody would be like, oh, they're punishing the intellectuals. They're taking political hostages. Yeah. Yeah, like Goebbels. Yeah. Landlords, thank you, Just Me. Yeah, I love it. All you have to say, all Just Me has to say in this moment is just landlords. And I'm like, yes, correct. I don't even have context for it. But I agree entirely, Just Me. Absolutely, landlords. We've got some people coming in on Twitch. Crucified for my opinions. Wow, that's like very Christ-like. Biden is guilty of treason against the American people. He is using our tax money in favor of foreign nations like Israel and Ukraine. He needs to be arrested and prosecuted under the Espionage Act. Yeah, good luck with that. Didn't happen to Bush. Didn't happen to Obama, right? It didn't happen to any of the other presidents. I don't know why it's going to happen under Biden, right? You're correct. Like, yes. If it happened, I would be like, yeah, great. But not going to happen. The system has been taken over by a system of capital, and that system of capital has become completely genocidal. Like, we're full Nazi now. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we're full-blown Nazi now. The American flag and the Nazi swastika are on par with one another. Like, and we're not going to pretend otherwise. Tikas Baza. I can't pronounce your name, man. Hello to you, friend. Tikas Bazaars. Hello. Good to see you, my man. I just watched an interview from a professor during the Cultural Revolution, and the professor was demoted after the Red Guards found a copy of Mein Kampf in his library. Good. Yeah, good. Shouldn't just be demoted, right? Although, and then the professor was educated on why reactionary thought is right. Yeah, just having a copy of Mein Kampf, like, we should read Mein Kampf. Everyone should read Mein Kampf. Like, you should. Everyone should have a read at what the psychopaths have to say. The best reason that you should, the reason you should read Mein Kampf is there's two really solid reasons. Reason number one is so that when you start to hear other people talking like Hitler talks like in Mein Kampf, you can immediately connect and just be like, oh, okay. Like, connect, right? And then the second really, really good reason is that, come on, John, you just had it, and it was brilliant, and everyone was going to be like, that's genius, John. You're the smartest person. I'm so glad that I tune in to listen to someone who is so brilliant. Guys, I'm getting older. That's all it is. I'm just getting older. Just like kind of disconnecting. Oh yeah. So that you realize that when genocidal maniacs do things, they're pretty open about it. Like, so a big reason why the capitalists have been able to get away with so much of this bullshit against communists and communist nations is because they live in a place of suspicion. They stir up people's suspicion, right? Underneath it all, behind the veneer, behind the curtain, you don't know what's going on. Oh, it's so secret. There's so many secrets, and they're doing secret genocides and plotting and doing all this kind of stuff. But then you read something like Mein Kampf, and you're like, no. When this shit goes down, they're pretty open about it. Right? There's no such thing as secret genocides. There's no such thing as like a hidden thing. There's no such thing as like a secret behind the scenes like tribunal or something like this. Everything is always done very much in the open. And it has to be. It has to be. You can't organize these sorts of things secretly. It just doesn't work. Right? And you read something like Mein Kampf and you're just like, oh yeah, they were always like this. Like, not a secret. Right? Like, not a secret at all. Nobody saw Hitler coming and was like, oh, I wonder what his plan is. The guy wrote a book. He had a manifesto. Like, if you were saying that, it's because you were a dimwit, right? It's because you were on purpose going out of your way to remain ignorant. And that's the real reason people should read Mein Kampf, is to understand that, like, when nations proclaim things, that's usually correct. Like, they're probably not also having a second secret plan that only the secret people know. Like, everything's usually done pretty much in the open. Because, like, just because you have to. You have to. Like, secret societies and that whole kind of thing, it's like, yeah, secret societies are pretty low level, honestly. Like, they're like, not that many people, you know? And, like, sure, you can have like little cabals and little cults and all this kind of stuff, but you can't organize a genocide like that. It's just that it doesn't work that way. Bex, good to see you. Also, every day, Russians and Chinese chanting and singing songs about committing genocide to a people like the Israelis have. Yeah, that would be a great piece of evidence, right? There's this video circulating. I don't have it right in front of me right now, but there's this great video circulating right now where people are literally, like, little kids are literally singing, genocide the heathens, burn them to the ground. Like, it's straight up like that. Like, it's not an exaggeration. Like, if you were to take what those kids were singing and put it on like a comedy show, people would be like, you're being barbaric. And you could be like, this is a direct translation of their script. This is exactly what they wrote. That's a good idea, dude. Somebody should actually do that. Just get a children's choir to actually sing what these children were singing and watch what people say about it. Because it's like, it's outrageous how in your face it is. Like, it's outrageous. And to then turn around and have people accuse other nations of genocide. It's like, bro, the Israelis are literally having like children's choirs singing about how awesome genocide is. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, Obama official caught on camera saying more Palestinian children should die. Yeah, it's a very opening moment, right? It's a very eye-opening moment. Like, we're full Nazi. We're full Nazi. Like, full blown. We just need the, like, death marches. That's really all we need. Oh, if she's a Palestine denier, like a Palestine genocide denier, like, I don't know how you can be. Like, how? How can you be a genocide denier? They literally said so. like take her to the Palestinian subreddit. Like, for real. Like, I'm not going to take you there because it's really gross. Like, it's really brutal. But like Gaza Fights for Freedom. Have her watch Abby Martin's Gaza Fight for Freedom. If you are a genocide denier about what's going on in Palestine, I think you're hopeless. Like, I don't think you're worth talking to as a person. Like, I don't need to listen to your opinion on any subject whatsoever. You have lost the ability to observe reality. Like, you're living in a fairy tale dreamland where I don't know. Like, I don't know what your world looks like, because it's delusional. It's just delusional. Like, we literally are photographing it. There's footage of it. We're interviewing the people who are experiencing it. We've got journalists on the ground. The journalists themselves are being purged by the Israelis openly. They admit it. Like, it's all being admitted. Like, that's the part about it that's so crazy about being a genocide denier about the Palestine. Like it's not even like when the Nazis were doing it, right? Where there was like, we had to go through news media and there was like a bit of a delay, right? You can literally go to a website that is updating the genocide in real time for you to see. We literally have the Israelis proclaiming their desire to do it. We couldn't have more evidence if we tried. Like, we actually couldn't. Like, what do we need? Do we need like a live feed from a satellite while the Israelis are literally going, can't wait to do a genocide, 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 while shooting people? Like, what is it actually going to take? So if you're telling me that you're talking to a person that's a genocide denier on this level, you honestly have the right to look right at her and be like, give me one reason to think that you're credible. Give me one reason to believe that your opinion matters anymore. If you're seriously going to deny the existence of this genocide, while the leaders of the country have admitted to doing it, we literally have the documentation for it. We literally have them on record saying that their intention is to do so. We literally have the Israeli Defense Force on record saying that their intention is to ethnically cleanse the Gazans. And then just the footage of them doing it, right? If you're going to deny that that's a genocide, then give me one reason why I should believe that you're credible. Because you're not. Like, you're not. Like, you're just not a credible person. Yeah. Amazing, Eric. Thank you so much. Yeah, the whole idea of capitalist realism is like, it's not a big book. It's not a long listen. Or it wouldn't be a long listen, because the idea of capitalist realism is just the idea that capitalism needs to assert that this is it, that we cannot advance past this mode of thinking, that all things must be done within the mode of capitalist realism. And so, for example, the best example that I can see that's ever happened in media was Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That Star Trek Deep Space Nine had a episode where Quark's brother, Nog, unionizes the bar, right? And the character of O'Brien, a union man, right? It's all about unions and unionization and unionizing, right? Well, that's a very capitalist realist way of thinking about things. That the border of discussion, like the original Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation, were about the abolishment of capitalism. That capitalism that they live and persist in a society where capitalism has been abolished. It's no longer a force in the society at all, right? But Deep Space Nine reintroduced the concept of capital through the Ferengi, and their debate wasn't about the abolishment of capital. It was about unionizing in order to negotiate with capital, because capitalism is an infinite force that you can never get away from. That getting away from it will eventually just come back, because it's human nature, right? Where did you see the video of the Israeli children singing? Around. I don't have it. I mean, I'm sure you could find it. Like, I'm sure it would be very easy to find. Like, Israeli children singing about genocide. Like, my internet's, like, slow all of a sudden. Oh, and they're asking, is this a real video? Is this a real video? This is good. Let's actually look into this. Because is it a real video? It could be fake, right? It's possible. There's so much bullshit going on. The video was allegedly posted and deleted by Khan, an Israeli news channel. Yeah, this is it. Right? It's just children singing about how great it is to genocide people. The electronic Infodata, an online publication that focuses on Palestinian perspectives, claimed that a video showing Israeli children singing about annihilation of Gaza had been shared, then deleted on the public broadcaster Khan News online platforms. Titled Friendship Song, the video in question featured a group of children reportedly singing in a re-recorded of an old song originally written by Israeli poet Chaim Gori after the 1948 war that led to the creation of the State of Israel, but with amended lyrics referring to Gaza. The children sang, Autumn night falls over the beach of Gaza. Planes are bombing. Destruction, destruction. Look, the IDF is crossing the line to annihilate the swastika bearers. In another year, there will be nothing there, and we will safely return to our homes. Within a year, we will annihilate everyone, and then we will return to plow our fields. The above video is indeed real and was created by an Israeli advocacy group, the Civil Front, which frequently does public campaigns to support the Israeli armed forces. The children in the slickly produced video wore black t-shirts with the same blue logo that's on the Civil Front's YouTube page. The video was also available on the group's YouTube page and was published on November 19th, 2023. Like, this is fucking gross, right? Like, this is fucking unbelievable that this is fucking happening, right? Like, absolutely someone should take this video and be like, listen to the songs from Israel, right? Songs from Israel on a 2-disc CD, and just do this. Just show it. But have it, like, have the kids be like white kids singing in English, right? A real banger. Like, and when you get criticized, be like, that's what happened though. They did that. That's a real thing. Like, we're putting it forward in a very lampoonish sort of a way, but this is actually real. What did I say? Not to nitpick, but Rom was Quark's brother. What did I say? Nog. Nog was the Ferengi, the young Ferengi that was Quark's, not Rom's son. You're right. Thank you, Timothy. Keep it. We got to keep these things correct. You're absolutely right. As Trekkies, live long and prosper. Although the new Star Trek, I'm just like, I don't give a shit about it anymore. They've completely lost their way, frankly. It's all just pandering. Oh, did you see they brought them back? Oh, the crew's back together. And it's all like pew pew lasers. They're not actually doing the thing that made Star Trek great in the first place. That the reason why Star Trek was good, and the reason why it was a show that elevated itself into the discourse, was because they were taking very serious issues and putting it into a sci-fi setting in order to have serious discussions, mature discussions about those issues, right? And they did it all the time. And it's become a parody of itself. Like that's really what it is. Like, it's become something of a parody of itself. I think the newest iteration of Star Trek that I've seen that is actually even attempting to do the thing that made Star Trek good in the first place is actually the Orville. Like, because I think Seth MacFarlane actually understands what made Star Trek good in the first place. And what made Star Trek good in the first place was mature discussions about serious issues. And so to me, that, like, when I realized that, I was like, oh fuck, it's the guy from Family Guy that's actually producing the best version of Star Trek right now. Yeah, it's over. Like, it's over. They've killed it. Like maybe they can bring it back. Like, maybe. I haven't even watched a single episode of Strange New Worlds because I just, like, an animated version of Star Trek, I don't care. Like, I don't. Like I'm sure it's cute. I'm absolutely sure that it might even be, like, you know, a fun, nice, wholesome time. Something to put on while you do the dishes or something, right? Like, it's fine, you know? But I'm just like, everything has become that. And what am I thinking of then? What am I thinking of? Hold on. Strange New Worlds. Let's do this. Oh, wait. I think I know the one that you're talking about. Like, Discovery was such a huge letdown. Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. What am I thinking of? The Lower Decks. Yeah, The Lower Decks was just a faff. Strange New Worlds. Yeah, like, I just have stopped paying attention to this stuff because I'm sick and tired of watching them drag out a corpse. Like, that's what it feels like. It just feels like they're dragging out a corpse and having the corpse dance in front of me. And it's just gross. It's just not something that I'm actually keen on or interested in. To see them take something that used to be about serious conversations. It used to be a mature show that in which very serious conversations happened, where there was a time for levity and there was a time for fun, and you had like occasional faff episodes, sure, but you also had like extremely serious conflicts and serious conversations, and that's just all gone, right? It's just all gone. Everything has just become faff. And so I'm just not interested. Like when are we going to have a serious conversation about the nature of our endless wars? Are we ever going to have a serious conversation about interventionism? Are we ever going to have like a real conversation about the nature of capital and about its exploitive system and how it actually functions in our society? Are we ever actually going to have any voices come out of our society that ever says at all, hey, maybe the system of capital isn't actually valuable? Like, that's straight up what Star Trek was putting on the table. Almost every episode, it was putting on the table this concept that, yeah, this system of capital isn't working. We will advance beyond it. And it was a very hopeful message. It was a very hopeful message that humanity can actually get through this, and we can actually do it, and we can actually get beyond capital, that we can advance into a new form and a new society and a new way of thinking, and we can actually secure peace, and we can actually negotiate with one another, and we can actually come to terms and agree with our basic humanity and all of that. That's the core message of what Star Trek is, and that's why it's good. And to see it basically turn into assholes in space, which is basically what it is. Like, if you watch the reboot trilogy or whatever it was with Captain Kirk and Spock and all these guys, right? If you watch these movies, they are dreck. They are total trash. Like, it's great if you want to go watch like a popcorn film or like, you know, while you're jerking off or something. Sure, great. You know, like if all you want to do is just see like pew pew, you want to hear the Beastie Boys while they like blow up an array or something. Sure, great. But the truth is that all of these people who were on that ship, Kirk, Spock, all of them would literally be removed from their posts and thrown out of the academy, let alone the fucking they wouldn't be the flagship. Like, the original movies had some dignity, and they were about very strong and powerful idea, and there were strong, powerful conversations that happened, mature conversations that happened amongst people who you believed were capable of being the captain of a starship and being like a military commander and being a person who could actually be capable of engaging in a first contact conversation, right? Like, you watch the original Star Trek movies and the first couple of Star Trek The Next Generation movies and Next Generation itself, and you really do get the sense that, like, yeah, these are highly trained military men and women who are there to represent the best of what humanity has to offer to an international spacefaring community. And then you watch the new stuff, and it's literally just like, hey, pew, pew, yeah, we'll just shoot from the hip, and I'm going to play a trick on him. Run now, run down the corridors. I'm a very serious captain, pay attention to me. Like, no. Like, if Captain Kirk was the actual captain of a starship, literally anyone, an ensign, would have been like, this guy should not be the captain of this. Like, I'm resigning. I will resign my post if this man is the captain. Like, that's what would actually happen. But, like, they're just killing Star Trek, dragging the corpse out in front of us, blowing capitalist air into it, and so we end up with like a capitalist ghoul version of Star Trek. That's like a rotted corpse being like, hey, remember Kirk? Here's Picard for 3 seasons. Like, it's gross. It's super, super gross. And we can't actually have a serious conversation about anything. And if you're not going to have a serious conversation in the show that was designed on purpose for that very thing, then it's over. And I'm just not interested in participating. I'm just not interested in participating. I'm not gonna put my time in it. I'm not gonna put my energy in it. I'm not gonna put my effort in it because it's not Star Trek anymore. They killed it. It's over. And like, again, if you want to put it on and like have a laugh with like your Marvel movies or whatever, great. But I'm just not gonna do it. Yeah, I didn't expect the Orville to also be that good. Yeah. Well, apparently Israel has finally agreed for a humanitarian pause with prisoner exchange. Yeah, apparently the prisoner exchange has already happened. Maybe they will actually wait until the whole thing actually comes to an end. Because it's a 4-day pause, right? Which started, I think, today. So they'll be bombing again by the weekend. Like literally, and the reason why it happened is because the Israeli citizens themselves were like, we could get these people out. Why haven't we gotten these people out? And Netanyahu's like, oh, okay, I guess. Okay, I guess we'll get some hostages. Okay. We don't actually care, but okay. For the people. Resist occupiers. Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. Yeah, and this Star Trek thing, I really went off on this Star Trek thing, but it does tie into like what I'm talking about. Like, we are having a spiritual crisis. This is a spiritual crisis that we are having. Like, who are we? What are we doing? Why are we here? Are we actually here to commit a genocide against another segment of humanity? Like, the message of Star Trek used to be that we can get through that. That the history of humanity was dark and bleak, but that we can become a people that realize how terrible this is and how bad it is for us to act in this way and how horrible it is for us to actually commit a genocide against a segment of ourselves, and where we actually come to understand that it's not Israeli versus Palestine. It's not America versus China, that it's literally a singular species called humanity working to improve itself through time. That's what it actually is. And that's the message that Star Trek would put on the table. And now it's like, hey, did you know that there was a mushroom gate? Yeah, we can go through the mycosial teleportation. So who gives a fuck? Like, I don't care at all. Like, it's just fucking childish nonsense. like they had that one character in Discovery who was like, she was an ensign, but she had anxiety. It's like, yeah, she wouldn't be an ensign. Like, I feel bad for her, right? That she's got this thing, but she wouldn't be on a starship. Sorry. Like, it's just like, I don't know when we became this nation of children with this child brain thinking. Like, like, for fuck's sake. Like, for fuck's sake. Like, are we ever going to have, like, mature adult conversations in our media ever again? I don't think so. I think that's over. Like, I think it's just going to be cartoonish nonsense. Right? And that's the reason why we're in this mental health crisis, why we're in this spiritual crisis, is because we're just refusing to actually be honest, or to even attempt to be honest, to even attempt to sit down and attempt to have a genuine conversation, right? Like, I respect, like here's a great example of a movie that I have a lot of respect for, and it's surprising, is Barbie. I have a lot of respect for the Barbie movie. And you know why? Because the Barbie movie took a sort of faffy, ridiculous IP, which is Barbie, and they took a position, right? They took a position, and they took a position and they defended it. They took a position and they defended it. And that's really what it comes down to. Like, nobody's taking a position and defending it. Like, everything is just like, they're the bad guys, we're the good guys. Seraphim, I'm getting checked a lot today on my Star Trek knowledge, you know? This is a fair point that you just said here, my man. Barkley. Yep. Reginald Barkley. Technically, he was in like the science department. He wasn't on the bridge, right? He wasn't in like a decision-making capacity. He wasn't in command. Okay? But you got me. You did. You got me. I'll take it. I'll take it. When it comes to Star Trek, precision. We've got to be precise. Yeah, if Barkley was like the fucking captain, though, right? Barbie movie called it deeply anti-feminist. Yeah, the Barbie movie, I think it's fair to critique the Barbie movie in terms of I don't think it actually achieved its objective, but I still respect that it took a position and attempted to defend that position. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they succeeded. Okay, that's not my point. My point is that they attempted to take a position and defend it. You never see that anymore, right? You just never see people actually. You never see a movie that has like a process to a point. You never see like a climb up where suddenly somebody goes like, "This is the point." Statement, like attempt to attack this statement. It just doesn't happen anymore, right? Like, when was the last time for real? It's like, with great power comes great responsibility, I guess. It's like kind of it. That happened in like the early days of Marvel, and then everything just became like faffy nonsense. Literally, let's do 10 movies and then a trilogy so that we can retcon the whole thing. Like, that's the quality of the shit that we're producing with like $1 billion budgets. We're literally spending the amount of money it would take to resolve homelessness in the nation so that we can tell these extremely shitty stories about nothing that we have such little faith in, that literally the apex of the film is we can just retcon it all anyway. Right? Like, as clear a statement that history doesn't matter, evidence doesn't matter, what has happened in the past doesn't matter, that we can just recreate reality upon a whim, that we can just say to the people, this is reality now, and the people are expected to be like, this is reality now. History began October 7th, and not one moment earlier. Like, that's straight up what those movies are about. It is about saying to you as a person, never remember anything that ever happened. It doesn't matter. That what we tell you today is the truth. Like, it's crazy. I was listening to a feminist, and apparently Barbie was always been a feminism icon, always had that kind of message. Barbie is an interesting figure in the conversation. I think that she has like she is like an iconic brand, right? Barbie is like a very iconic brand and is sort of a lotus point, is a point of contention and a point of discussion amongst feminists and amongst women, right? Because I think that there's a lot of different perspectives, and that Barbie has become this sort of like, and especially now with this Barbie movie, like, she's become this real like striking point and something for people to actually have legitimate discussion about, which I think is good ultimately, right? Like, it's interesting being one of the actually interesting things that's happening in reality these days is that we have experienced a suffragist movement, that there is actually been an advancement for women in the society. Right, that has actually happened. Literally in the 70s, they weren't allowed to have bank accounts, and now women can have bank accounts. Like, these are the advancements that we're talking about, and a big shift, a massive shift that I saw happen for women in the society was that it used to be that women were not considered comedians, that they couldn't be they weren't considered funny. right? That I remember growing up in the 90s, it was like a trope that women were just not funny. That was the whole trope, even though there were very clear examples of female comedians. Lucille Ball is of just extremely clear, right in front of your face. Betty White, very clear example. Rita Rutner, Roseanne Barr, real clear examples of female comedians who were obviously doing it. But that idea had kind of settled in the 90s, and then now there's like a whole slew of female comedians that are just considered like really, really top of the game, really, really up there. And like, so nobody takes that seriously anymore. And there has been a shift. And there has been an introduction, and now we're starting to see a genuine, a real interesting push to get the female perspective and the women's perspective into the conversation in a serious way. I do think it's become cynical. I think that Disney has made it very cynical and has become pandering about it, and has sort of sacrificed actual storytelling for this initiative, right? Just tell another little shitty story, and if they don't buy it, we'll call them a bigot, right? Like, it's as shitty as it gets. And but it is interesting that is happening, and it's something that is actually interesting in this reality of that's become very banal and shitty, right? Very banal and shitty as our society is. One Piece has such commentary, but then again, it's Asian made, not Western made. Well, and One Piece, man, like, you got to watch like 20,000 hours of One Piece. You wanna, like, I like One Piece, but Jesus, it's a commitment. You gotta really mean it. You gotta really be like, yeah, I'm gonna watch One Piece. I can set aside 5,000 hours. That like, if you start watching One Piece now, you'll never actually catch up because they're just making more of it all the time. All right, guys. Good opportunity to say like, share, subscribe, hit the bells, hit the whistles, do the stuff, tell people I exist. We're going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole right here. So here in the city of Toronto, right, close to my home, drop the charges, an urgent statement from Jews, say no to genocide coalition. Toronto, all out to 52 Division now. The Jews say no to genocide coalition denounces the arrests of Toronto activists this morning, Wednesday, November 22nd, allegedly in connection with posters that were put up at Indigo bookstores naming CEO Heather Reisman's support for Israeli occupation forces. For years, Heather has made it her mission, through her foundations, Heseg, to provide direct financial support to Canadians wishing to join the Israeli military. Denouncing Reisman and her actions is neither anti-Semitism nor a hate crime. The crime is trying to silence and criminalize any form of solidarity with Palestinians. We will not be silent as a genocide rages on in our name. All out to 52 Division, 255 Dundas Street West, now to support everyone arrested and demand all charges be dropped. So, as always, you live in a society where calling for genocide is free speech, speaking out against genocide is genocide. Right? Like, that's the position of your society. People are getting arrested for doing it. People are getting arrested for calling people out. People are getting arrested for supporting the Palestinians during this period of time. Like, that is what's actually happening. See, and that guy says, let's be clear, her foundation funds mercenaries. Fantastic. Right? So if you want to be a mercenary for the IDF, you can just contact Heather Reisman. She'll help you out. So this is what's happening in Toronto, and of course this is spreading throughout Canada. So why did you bring up a meme about Greta Thunberg? Well, I mean, if you read it, Greta Thunberg used to say her goal was to protect the planet from climate change, but she now admits it's to overthrow the whole capitalist system. which she says is responsible for imperialism, oppression, genocide, racist, oppressive extractionism. I just think it's of note when an internationally recognized person who is actually attempting to rally people for a cause actually says out loud that the goal is to overthrow the whole capitalist system. I think that's a good thing. And of note, right? Of note. CTV forbids the use of Palestine, suppresses critical stories about Israel. CTV, for those of you who don't know, is one of the major Canadian broadcasters. The media conglomerate that runs CTV, CP24, and BNN Bloomberg is distorting the truth about Israel's violence in Gaza, its own journalists say. This is from breachmedia.ca. CTV directed journalists not to use the word Palestine and has cultivated a culture of fear that is suppressing critical coverage of Israel's war on Gaza, according to internal emails obtained by the breach and interviews with several employees. The journalist said senior producers and senior editors across the platforms of CTV's parent company, Bell Media, have disparaged Palestinian guests, told employees that protests calling for a ceasefire should not be reported on, and blocked or delayed stories that included too much contextual information about Israel's military occupation and the regime of apartheid in Palestine. The journalists, who are not being identified for fear of retribution, described a widespread bias at the media conglomerate against Palestinians that resulted in one-sided, incomplete coverage of the violence in Gaza that does a huge disservice to Canadians. Bell Media is the multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that operates CTV News Channel, CTV's national broadcasts, and national website, local CTV affiliate stations, BNN Bloomberg, and CP24 in Toronto. These revelations follow the breach analysis that found coverage on CTV National News had featured far more Israeli than Palestinian voices. In an October 10th directive telling employees how to write about the violence, CTV told them not to use the word Palestine and made the politically charged assertion that Palestine does not currently exist. The email, sent to journalists across the media conglomerate, stated that all Bell Media platforms should use the same language. Given radically conflicting viewpoints and the sensitive nature of the current situation in the Middle East, this note is not to be circulated externally. The email from CTV News assignment editor Mark Kuzum stated, while Palestine has observer status at the United Nations, Palestine as a nation does not currently exist. Please use Gaza or the Israeli-occupied West Bank for a geographic locator. Here is the memo directly. In fact, the vast majority of countries in the world do not recognize Palestine, and it has the status of an observer state at the United Nations. Canada is in a small minority of countries that do not recognize Palestine's statehood. Oh, I think I said do not. In fact, the vast majority of countries in the world do recognize Palestine, and it has the status of an observer state at the United Nations. Canada is in a small minority of countries that do not recognize Palestine's statehood. The nation of Palestine can also refer to the people who identify as Palestinian, even though the West Bank and Gaza have been under military occupation by Israel since 1967. The breach verified the directive's authenticity with several employees at Bell Media. One journalist at Bell Media told the breach they found the guidance biased. The neutral thing to say would have been we don't use Palestine in our copy because Canada does not recognize Palestine as a state. That's a fact, the journalist said. Palestine does not exist, is a strong opinion. In an email, the breach asked Bell Media and CTV why the media conglomerate takes a stance on Palestinian statehood and how they would respond to critics who believe the guidance erases the history and identity of a people. The company did not respond to specific questions, but provided a statement. Our news organization always ensures coverage is balanced, factual, accurate, and fair, Bell Media said in an email. In 2021, CBC News was criticized for sending out a similar directive. CBC News Toronto told staff the broadcaster doesn't use the word Palestine because there's no modern country of Palestine. and told them not to use the word in rough drafts or colloquially in our own exchanges. At least one headline this month on CTV News that initially used the word Palestine was later edited to remove it. Last week, CTV Montreal station published a story with the headline, "Demonstrations for Palestine closes Jacques Cartier Bridge in both directions." Later that day, the headline was changed to, "Montreal's Jacques Cartier Bridge reopens after pro-Palestinian demonstration." There's the proof in the pudding. Palestinians only welcome if they're crying. The journalists also said there's a clear bias in how Bell Media treats Palestinian guests and in the editing of stories about Israel. Bell Media platforms have regularly invited Israeli government and military officials to appear, but rarely, if ever, invite sources who could talk about the state's occupation and apartheid from organizations like Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, or B'Tselem, one employee said. If it was the Ukrainian war, these types of guests would come and be asked on all the time. Senior editorial staff have also openly disparaged Palestinian guests and questioned whether their perspectives are newsworthy, the journalists said. Palestinian guests, according to the journalists, are expected to express grief, but not political opinions or context about their experiences. When it comes to the Palestinian guests, they're essentially brought on to cry, the journalist said. That's all they're good for. Bell, let's talk. Palestinians who are highly critical of Israel are not invited back, and clips of their interviews aren't published on the network's news websites, the journalist also said. Bell Media journalists listed multiple examples that the breach verified, but chose not to cite because it would make employees identifiable and risk retribution. Stories that provide context about Israel's occupation or information about pro-Palestine rallies are subject to days-long, sometimes nonsensical edits, one of the other journalists told The Breach. In some cases, those types of stories have been finished but never published, defying the network's normal practices. This journalist said that they are already self-censoring, leaving out historical context, and the fact that 6,417 Palestinians were killed by Israel in the 15 years leading up to Hamas's attack on October 7th. Right, history began October 7th and not one moment earlier. I just know that they're not going to let me put that in a story. The media conglomerate did not respond to specific questions about why the company would not want to provide its audience with a history and context about Israel's military occupation. Cowardly and one-sided. Journalists said these directives are an example of a wider culture at Bell Media, describing extremely tense workplaces and a culture of fear. Bell, let's talk. Editors have told journalists not to cover rallies supporting Palestinian freedom and called for a ceasefire unless they cause significant disruption to the public. That move was cowardly and one-sided, said one of the journalists. Multiple journalists who spoke to The Breach said there are plenty of employees who want to do truthful, informative work about Gaza, but they're afraid of repercussions from management if they push back internally. They also said that editors and producers have said they're scared of the backlash from higher-ups if their work draws criticism from right-wing pro-Israel groups like Honest Reporting Canada. They say, well, both sides reach out and criticize our coverage. Like, yes, but there's one side you actually listen to, one of the journalists said. One of the other journalists said editors have indicated on several occasions that they are wary of considering story pitches about Gaza because they're too afraid of the blowback from more senior leaders. Bell Media told The Breach that its journalists are encouraged to share their thoughts on coverage. We are committed to a respectful and inclusive work environment where CTV News journalists are encouraged to discuss and raise concerns regarding coverage of any story. Pre-approved text downplayed Palestinian casualties. Another email obtained by The Breach demonstrates how senior management has provided one-sided guidance about how to cover the violence, although it appears journalists did not follow it. On November 16th, Bell Media sent out pre-approved text that could be copied and pasted into online stories as context for the violence in Gaza. The copy sent by Mary Nersessian, a digital news director who leads CTV News, CP24, and BNN Bloomberg, included the death toll of 1,200 Israelis killed by Hamas, but summarized the number of Palestinians killed as thousands. The email also said the death toll could be updated. One of the Bell Media journalists who corresponded with the breach said that they were concerned that the copy didn't specify that stories should state the exact number of Palestinians killed. By the date of the email, Israel's military had killed at least 11,000 Palestinians in Gaza. The breach only found one story that used the copy, and the writer swapped out thousands for a more specific death toll. Bell Media's statement did not answer questions about why it would be appropriate for journalists to report the number of Israelis killed, but not the number of Palestinians killed, especially when the Palestinian death toll is significantly higher. What a stupid place, eh? What a dumb world. Niquim, what a clown. Just Soros's puppet. I don't know who Soros's puppet is in that, but sure, I'm with you. Mainstream media intentionally suppressing relevant and necessary context? Gasp! I'm shocked. Shocked! Well, not that shocked. Not that shocked. Greta is a plant. What? Just me? What makes you say so? Let's have a serious conversation about Greta Thunberg. What makes you think so? I'm open. Like I'm not sitting here saying I don't believe you. I just would like to see something a little bit more conclusive. Because near as I can tell, like, it is a bit odd that she gets the press that she gets. I'll admit that. Like, why not just keep her quiet? Like, why is she a celebrity at all? Right? That by itself is suspect. Funny how you're reading an article about CTV censorship while she is currently watching CTV News and doesn't believe how the media skews the views to fit an imperial narrative. Yeah, your aunt, eh? Aunt loves watching CTV News. Yeah. Turn that shit off. There's a reason why this channel's going to blow up. There's a reason why channels like mine are going to blow up. It's because of that. So as long as they keep that up, right? I got a shot. Right? I got a shot to actually make a living doing this. As long as they keep that shit up, as long as they keep making it so that people don't get the information, right? Well, okay. Eventually they'll come to me. Eventually people will be like, man, these people are liars. Is there anybody out there actually telling the truth? Hi. Hello. At least attempting to. That's good enough. Like, brutal. Seraphim, I just posted a video of Destiny. Oh, well, the great and powerful. In a general Discord. He has his mom on stream and asked where in Cuba his family came from. She said they came from her grandfather's plantations. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Allah. Thanks, guys. You're really taking a lot of this, a lot of the heat off all of this. You know, you're really making it easy to be a revolutionary. That's the God's honest truth. You know, you're just making it so easy for me to just be like, yeah, fuck this place. These people are idiots and assholes and liars and frauds. Destiny is a gusano. Of course. Of course. Yeah, of course. Oh, man, it's been a minute since we've had someone like Patrick on. Oh, Patrick, how are you doing, my man? So let's start with what's obvious. You don't know anything about communism, right? Real clear, real straightforward, and real simple. Yeah, here we go again. And here comes Patrick. Oh, man, Patrick. I'm actually so glad you're here, Patrick. It's been a minute. It has. It's been a little while since we've had one of you come on in here. Let's go. Let's find out if Patrick just wanted to be like, well, communist supporters just want welfare. Someone else wants to make their decisions for them. Why don't you move to a communist country? And they just leave, right? Or is Patrick actually interesting? Is Patrick a dimwit? Or is Patrick actually an interesting person with interesting thoughts? Let's find out. Communist supporters just want welfare. I mean, we do want welfare in the sense that we think people should have access to food and shelter. Yes. Everyone should have access to food and shelter. We think that homelessness caused by the capitalist system is abhorrent. We think that the excuses that capitalists makes to maintain the system of homelessness and the system of starvation that they inflict on their own public and other societies is abhorrent. So in that sense, sure, yeah, we would like general welfare for the public. Yeah, we would like to increase the quality of life and the standard of living for the people, for sure. Someone else to make all their decisions for them. Literally every communist country has been democratic. You just don't know anything about communism. So that's very straightforward. Why don't I move to a communist country? So I'm going to tell you right now, Patrick, if you're still here, I just assume that you came in, spread your shit around and left. But it's good to go through this stuff. Why don't I move to a communist country? So I'm going to say straight up, that's the dumbest thing a person can say. I'm really trying to find a nicer way to say it, but I think I have to just call it for what it is, right? If you say that kind of thing out loud, everyone thinks you're a stupid person. Because there's lots of really clear and obvious reasons why it's not the case. One, it costs money, right? It's not free, right? Why can't poor people just have money? That's basically what you sound like. I don't speak the language. I don't know anyone there. I don't have a job there, right? Like, so there's all kinds of like very straightforward, like things that I think that an intelligent person would have just known. So when you say, why don't you just move to a communist country, you immediately just reveal to everyone that you're a dimwit. So I'm just telling you, maybe don't say that kind of stuff out loud. Because even the people who would go, ho, 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 and agree with you, or not agree with you, but laugh along with you, think that you're stupid when you say that kind of thing. But then the actual reason is that I'm not like you. I'm not a traitor, right? I'm not selfish. I don't think exclusively about myself, right? I'm not living in this world to try to harvest other people for my own benefit, right? I'm not going to abandon my fellow citizens during their time of need when they need voices like this the most. When people need to hear the truth of what is going on in their society the most, I'm not just going to abandon them for my own selfish gain like you would. So there's your answer, Patrick. I assume you're already gone because you're probably a coward, right? Like you just came in, said this shit, and left. So that's where we've ended up with Patrick, just sort of a dim-witted coward. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for coming. Clunker John, have you talked about the new Argentinian president? I talked about him yesterday, but we'll be talking about him. Yeah, here's the chance for the ANCAPs to see the failure of their idea. Just straight up. Like the guy is going to come in. He said all this. This is. Whoa. Sorry, guys. Oh, God. Oh, very loud and pageantarial. I'm going to turn that down right away. Yeah, so he has said out loud that his goal is to immediately and as swiftly as possible destroy several ministries. The Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Transportation, the Ministry of Women, the Ministry of Health, right? So basically going through the entire country, eliminating anything that could be considered social support at all and privatizing it. So it's a disaster. Like just a 1 + 1 = 2 total, complete, and utter disaster. He's a clown. Like he's a total clown. And he gets into power basically because the populace gets duped into believing this ANCAP bullshit, while simultaneously they don't really have a good socialist or communist candidate, right? So the left is weak in Argentina. Not surprising, given the amount of Nazis that exist in Argentina, given the amount of Nazism that exists in Argentina historically. Not terribly surprising that it would go down this way. But frankly, like what you're going to see, let's go to Google Maps. Let's go to Google Maps. Let's go to Google Maps and have a conversation about what's going on in South America. What's going on in South America? So Brazil has just had an election where Lululemon has won. He is like center left, right? He's like pro-socialist. Has definitely said some things that make you kind of go like, oh yeah, this guy is actually interested in like building a civil society that's actually going to benefit the citizens of his own country, right? He's not like Bolsonaro, who's literally just like, money for me is good, and that's kind of it. And that's really important because Brazil is obviously the largest economy on the continent, right? It's definitely the place where, like, if something's going on in Brazil, it reverberates throughout the rest of the continent. While this is going on, you've got Venezuela, which has been socialist for quite some time, dealing with the crisis that they've been dealing with, the crisis of capitalism, right? You've got, Bolivia, the Bolivian leader at this time is straight up, he's straight up like communist. The Chileans literally said last year, neoliberalism was born in Chile, it will die in Chile. You've got socialists, I believe, in Peru, Ecuador, Colombia right now. So you're looking at a general swing to the left and a rising red tide in South America generally, right? It isn't like, let's pick up the guns and start murdering everybody kind of stuff, although the Venezuelans have had to become militant for the obvious reasons. But for the most part, and I mean, like, the Bolivians had, like, a coup and then a return of their coup leader, right, because of their uprising. So it's been, like, very militant. It's been very defensive and organized. The great success of what's happened in Brazil is that after the election where Lula won, the Bolsonarians stormed the Capitol a la July 6th. And but instead of the response being like, oh, it was just a visit and all that kind of stuff, they literally rounded those people up. Bolsonaro had to flee the country. I think he's in Miami now. He's just another gusano, right? Just another bitching gusano. And so the continent generally is swinging to the left, right? And so that's making the capitalists freak out. For obvious reasons, right? The capitalists know they're losing power in South America. They know that the people of South America and Latin America are sick and tired of this shit. They know that people want to see something new and see something different. They know that they want to use their own resources to benefit their own people, right? They know that these things are happening. And so they're going to do everything they can in order to maintain their own power. And that's going to include funding lunatics like this Javier Milei guy. Like, he's obviously crazy. Like, he's just straight up. You listen to him talk for 30. Like, I've watched one interview with this guy. And I was like, this guy's a psychopath. Pretty clear. Like, pretty obviously a psychopath. Like, he's straight up talking about murdering socialists. Talking about destroying the civil service. Like, this guy's straight up a psychopath who is going to be giggling about the suffering that he spreads. And oh, hey Patrick, you're still here. Good for you, bud. I gotta tell you, good for you. I'm glad that you're still here, bud. We'll talk. It's gonna be nice. This is gonna be nice. It's been a minute. Oh, reason people flee so many communist countries. This is going to be great. I'm so looking forward to this. Okay. Yeah. So it's going to get really obvious really fast, right? Because as these other countries, as these other socialist countries, and as these other countries that are attempting to do things in socialism are trading largely with China now and the BRICS network, right? That they're getting disconnected from American imperialism. As they get more disconnected from American imperialism, it's going to increase their own quality of life and improve their own material conditions. And it's going to happen quickly, right? Maybe not as quickly as it happened in China, but it's going to happen quickly. And in the meantime, Argentina is literally destroying its material conditions. It's literally destroying its society. It's going to enrich like 5 people, right? 5 people are going to have billions of dollars and everyone else is going to live in squalor. And so the juxtaposition is going to be really, really obvious. Like you're literally going to be able to like drive out of Cordoba, right? And go to Brasilia. And you're going to just go like, and it's going to be different immediately. You're just going to be like, oh, shithole, homeless people everywhere, poverty wherever you go, and boom, everything's normal. Everything's completely fine, right? It's going to be like that. And in about like 5 years. So really, really fast. Because unfettered capitalism is a revolutionary force. That it's going to sweep through the country and everyone's going to lose their jobs and everyone's going to live in poverty. Wages are going to plummet. And the capitalists are going to make a ton of money. That's what's going to happen. And so expect revolutionary movements throughout Argentina. Expect like crazy shit to happen throughout Argentina during this period of time. And we should report it and support it because capitalists are psychopaths. Speaking of, hey, Patrick. Patrick says, sure, I agree we need better healthcare and housing, but that can be done without communism. Prove it. When? At what time? Where? What country? What country has improved healthcare and housing without using government measures, non-free market capital measures, without basically saying, do this. We're going to build it now. When? Where? What time? Understand you're speaking to a guy who is actually experiencing a housing crisis at the moment. Right at this moment. So you can take your whole capitalism, we can do it with capital. No, we can't, obviously. When have we ever? At what time? When? And communism is inherently inhuman. You don't know anything about communism. Like, you don't know anything about it. Just admit that you don't know anything about it, and then we can move on from there. Right? As soon as you admit your illiteracy on the subject and your ignorance of the subject, the better off you're going to be. Right? You don't know anything. Why should I listen to you? Why should I believe a word you have to say? You're clearly illiterate. My family escaped Cuba. Your family were gusanos. Your family were slaveholders. Your families escaped Cuba because they were enslaving the population in Cuba. Batista was a literal slaver who operated on behalf of foreign capital. And your family worked with him, which is why they were chased out of Cuba. It was right and good that they were chased out of Cuba. Give me one reason why I should listen to a word you have to say, gusano. Your dumbass perspective. Yeah, there's a reason people flee communist countries because they're slavers like your family. You come from a family of slavers. You are helping brutal dictators enslave a population, forcing children into prostitution, forcing children into fields to do work and labor, having literal like rape camps and shit like this. This is what you're defending because your daddy did it. Fuck your daddy. Fucking gusano. Fuck off. Piece of shit. You don't know anything about communism. You're a slaver. I don't give a shit what you have to say. Do you have any reason? Do you have a reason why I should take you seriously? Like, what reason should I take you at all seriously? You fucking loser. Piece of shit. Goddamn gusanos. Yep. My sister married a Gusano Venezuelan who fled to Florida. He hates Maduro, blames communism for Venezuela's problems, loves Trump and capitalism. Yeah, he left Venezuela at the age of 18. He has no clue. Yeah. He's just bought into the propaganda, just bought into what the CIA has to say about it, doesn't give a shit at all about what's actually going on, doesn't care that everybody, like, you look at Venezuela and you're like, oh, there's a sanction regime. Gusano means worm. It means worm. It's what Fidel Castro said of these people. That a guy like Patrick, that's what Fidel Castro would call him. Because he is, and it's obvious. They're little worms just crawling around on their belly for power. Because they're dumbasses and they don't know anything. They're too stupid to realize anything. They don't have any brains. They just kind of keep sticking around. Get the fuck out of here, Gusano. No. I don't need fucking Gusanos in here. You're a fucking fascist loser. Fuck off. Bye-bye. The fact that you're resorting to name-calling is very telling. The fact that you're resorting to name-calling is very telling. You're a Gusano. Fuck off. Go cry to your dad. Fucking slaveholder. That all you're doing is reaffirming my point on capital. Like, you're unintelligent and dumb. You're pro-slavery. Why should I listen to you? Yeah, and your retort is literally, you resorting to name-calling. Let's listen to what you had to say. Right? What did you say? Oh, yeah, capitalists just want to be on welfare. That was your opening remark. Remember that? Remember your opening remark? God, capitalists are so stupid. They literally forget what they said the moment they said it. Right? Like, they're just illiterate, stupid, dumbasses. Like, it's just brutal. It's just brutal that these guys come in here and think that they can actually talk to me. While literally promoting slavery. Like, it's crazy. Like, no moral center, no moral core. Literally nothing. Like, literally nothing. Straight up, I'm mad at communists because they won't let me enslave people. Like, this is Patrick. I'm mad at communists because they won't let me enslave people. My daddy was a slaver, and that was good. Capitalism is good because of slavery. Brutal. Just dumbasses. Holy shit, man. Like, one of these days, someone's actually going to come in and actually, like, have something interesting to say. It's going to happen. Right? It's going to happen. There's going to be, like, and it's going to be somebody who's, like, actually got a degree in something. Right? Like, those are the interesting ones. I've had that before, where there's been, like, a guy who's come in and they've actually had a degree in something, so they think they know something about the subject. They end up being illiterate all the same, but at least they, like, have things to say. Not like this guy, who, like, straight up revealed himself to be a Gusano slaver right away. Like, Jesus Christ. Might as well have come in here and been like, Hitler is a good guy, I think. Like, Jesus. And then gets mad. You resorting to name-calling is not being unable to defend an argument. What argument? What argument? Just so dumb. By the way, you say capitalists want a welfare state instead of communists wants a welfare state. What? Ooh, the North Star. Hold on. Why was I looking at North Star? I don't give a shit anymore. Like, it's just this overwhelming arrogance that these people have. Like, this is who these people are. Right? Like, this is it. These guys look at a guy like Elon Musk. Right? There's a large graveyard filled with my enemies. I do not wish to add to it, but will if given no choice. Those who pick fights with me do so at their own peril, but maybe this is their lucky day. This is Elon Musk. Yeah, what are you going to do? It's, sometimes your mouth, energy hits your mouth before it hits your brain. Oh, well, what are you going to do, Eric? That's life. But it is true, capitalists do want a welfare state. They want a welfare state for themselves, right? The capitalists love welfare. They love being on welfare. Nobody loves being on welfare more than capitalists. John is our big, lovable, angry communist. We allow him a mistake now and then. Like, it's just so, like, I don't even think I'm that angry of a person. Like, really. I just, like, it's just astounding how the discourse is in the basement the way it is. It's just astounding that someone can walk into the room and say, I think Hitler is good, I'm pro-genocide, pro-slavery, and communism is bad. And I'm supposed to take that person seriously. And that person expects to be taken seriously. And if you actually say to their face, you're just a fucking loser. You're just an absolute menace who needs to sit down, shut their mouth, and learn something. They go, well, you're just resorting to insult. Yeah, because it's the only thing you'll listen to, obviously. Everything else isn't working. You're not rational, obviously. You didn't reason yourself into this position, right? Like, if you're standing up and saying slavery, genocide is good, then you're not a reasonable person. You have no credibility, and I don't need to listen to you, obviously. So I'm just going to say that to you. And if your response is, your insults are very telling, yeah, they are very telling. They're very telling that this is the only thing you'll actually listen to because you're too dim-witted. You're not smart. You don't know anything about the subject. You're unintelligible. You're illiterate, obviously. This is the reason we end up listening to Gusanos like Destiny. This is the reason why guys like Destiny, people actually go like, yeah, Destiny has some things to say. Yeah, he's a smart guy, that Destiny. He's a real smart, clever guy. Because you're too fucking stupid and uneducated, and you think you're not. You actually think you got an education instead of just an indoctrination into a system of capital that's abandoning you, obviously. So yeah, like, by policy, I insult these people. You know why? Because nothing else has worked. Nothing else is working. I'm done with this. You come in here with a pro-Nazi, pro-Gusano, pro-genocide stance, you're going to get the fireball, right? And if you complain about it, out the door you go. You know why? Because you're obviously a radical idiot on purpose, obviously. We don't need to listen to you. We don't need to tolerate you. You're not content. Get the fuck out. Oh. Elon Musk is Oprah for incels. I love it. Good to see you, Mystic. Good to see you. Yeah, Gusanos like defending a collapsing system. Like, they're basically just complaining that they don't have slaves. That's their position. Oh yeah, Destiny and Vosh are uneducated clowns. It astounds me so many people take them seriously. They're debate bro buffoons. Well, I mean, Vosh is an FBI snitch. Like, so he's on the FBI like, I don't have the document that shows you that he's on the FBI pay list or whatever, but he's confessed it on his stream that he's an FBI snitch. There was like a big period of time in his early days of streaming that he was literally defending child pornography. Like, the guy's a creep. Like, he's a creepy loser. And I assume that the people who listen to him are also creepy losers. This is from, that's not really a name, is it? This is from Twitch. I'm going to just say JG. People scared of Palestinians because Palestinians are not afraid to fight them. We have hearts of steel. Yeah, good for you. Fucking good for you. Like, good for you, dude. Like, your people are experiencing a genocide. It's brutal what's going on, right? There's no laws. There's no rules. You don't need to follow anything. It's ridiculous what's going on in Palestine. Fight. Kim Jong-vroom, good to see you, my man. Finally, an actual commie. Yeah, I just got a bunch of Joker leaping Larrys. Keck. I don't know what that means, but yeah, dude. Like, a big reason why these capitalists don't like talking to me is because they don't know how to talk to an actual communist with principles, right? That they think that they can walk in with their pro-slavery, pro-genocide stances, and they're going to get like a rational conversation. They're not rational. You're not a rational person if you're a slaver. You're not a rational person if you're a genocidal maniac, right? You're a genocidal maniac, and I'm going to treat you as such. That if I had the power and the authority to do so, you'd be in a jail cell. You understand? That's my position. That if your position is we should genocide a people, I'm going to put you in prison, right? If I had the power and authority to do so, that's exactly what I would do. And I will vote along those lines. And if I see it happen in my reality, I will go, good. I'm glad that genocidal slavers are going to jail. That we used to shoot those people. And I support that idea. Like, and guess what? I think that makes me rational and normal. I think that's the centrist position. I don't think that's a far right, far left radical idea at all. I think that's a normal thing that normal, regular people should say. Yeah, if a guy stands up and says, I'm a Nazi and I would like to eradicate the Jews, he should go to jail. We actually did that to someone here in Toronto recently. There was a guy distributing pamphlets around, calling for the Jews to be rounded up. You know what happened? He went to jail for a year. And I'm glad he did. I hope he did. I actually thought a year was way too short. He should have gone for way longer than a year. So you're going to come in here and defend this Gusano shit? Go to jail. Happy to send you there. Bare minimum. Like, fuck. The fact that these guys thinks that they have the right to say that shit in front of me is crazy. I'm a rational person. This is a rational argument that I'm making. We should round up the Cubans and enslave them. What? So finding out that Destiny is a Gusano, yeah, of course he is. Of course he's a Gusano. Yep. Thank you, JG. Thank you for that clarification, my man. We fight the Zionist, not because he is Jew. Thank you. I appreciate that distinction. It's an important distinction to always reaffirm. We are not against Jewish people. We are not against Judaism. We are not against even Israelis. We are not even against Israelis. Zionists. We stand against Zionists. That just in the same way that we would not be against Germans, we would be against Nazis, we stand against Zionists. There's a guy in Twitch. He just put up like a little emoji, like a little communist emoji, but his name is Monsieur Balls. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that name. That's a beautiful name. Just an absolutely beautiful name. Oh, man. It doesn't astound me that people take people like Vosh and Destiny seriously, because what that indicates is a decline. It shows you the vacuum, right? This is what I've always kind of said about Jordan Peterson, right? That Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro exist because there is an intellectual vacuum. That the society has become stupefied and is too dim-witted to understand that what they're looking at is charlatans, right? Just frauds. That Destiny and Shapiro, like Destiny is like a liberal Ben Shapiro, basically. The reason why people listen to them and the reason why they gain traction whatsoever is because they speak very fast. That's it. That's their whole shtick. Ben Shapiro talks like this, and he talks very fast, and he makes a lot of points, and he goes like this, and he says, okay, well, if that's true, then we have to, and he just, as fast as his brain can think. And I think he's got a little autism going on, which I don't hold against him, but it makes it happen, right? It's just, and so he speaks so fast that he can say the stupidest stuff you've ever heard of, right? He just says the stupidest stuff you've ever heard of. But he's saying it so quickly that you can't really process it as it's happening. And so you just kind of go and you just get caught on the rhythm and you just go along the line. And there is something pleasing about listening to Ben Shapiro in terms of musicality and rhythm, right? That the way that Ben Shapiro talks, he's in a higher register, right? And he talks with this like, well, you gotta kind of rhythm. Right? There's a rhythm to the way he speaks that actually gets into your ear and gets into your consciousness, and it rubs your brain in a way that you don't get a lot. Right? And so I think it's, and I know that this is odd. It's odd to hear this, but I think it's actually true. And I think Destiny does the same thing, that there's a musicality to the way that they speak that makes it pleasant for people to listen to, because there's like this like kind of rhythm to it. Even though what they're saying is like, and especially with Destiny, like every so often he says something that you're like, yeah, like healthcare should be a universal system. Yeah, great. So you're like a center right person saying that, yeah, healthcare should be delivered as a universal system. Yeah, like when healthcare was delivered here in Canada, it was like a center right government that did it. Like it's not a radical policy by any measure whatsoever. It's only radical if you live in a fascist country like you do. Yeah. Yeah. You know, when the water comes up in climate change, the water comes up, you know, people will just sell their houses and move. That's something he has said on more than one occasion. Like, he said that on Joe Rogan's podcast. Like, that's stupid. That's so dumb. You got to be a real dumb person to think that. Like, I respect that a person would think that, you know? And I also respect that a person might say that out loud once. But, like, it's so dumb. Like, sell them to who, Ben? Who's buying these houses that have now been destroyed by water? Right? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. But the thing is that he says these things so quickly and he responds so, like, rapid fire that to actually, like, slow things down takes energy. That's why I actually think someone like Destiny and Ben Shapiro would do very badly against me. That if we were to actually talk. Because their whole strategy is to get the conversation into that rhythm. Right? They get into that rhythm and they expect you to get into that rhythm. And I've seen them do this. They pull people into the rhythm. And then when you start to answer, they start to get you into the rhythm. Right? And if they can get you into that rhythm, that's where they excel. But when you actually slow the conversation down, just watch the Richard Wolff debate, right? When you slow the conversation down and you have like an actual conversation on an actual level, then they slow down, right? And then you realize very quickly that they're stupid. Like when Ben Shapiro talked to that British fellow, I forget his name, but he had that conversation with the British and he was embarrassed. He just got completely embarrassed. And Shapiro the guy made him look like a moron. Damn, I wish I could remember his name, but he literally at one point said to Shapiro, while laughing, you know, Mr. Shapiro, if you knew how ridiculous that sounded, you wouldn't have said it. Like, he just mocked him openly because Shapiro is a very dumb person, just like Destiny. They're very dumb, right? Vosh's whole thing is that he's just a gishgalosher, right? He just says a lot of things all at once. He just makes a lot of points and then expects you to thoroughly go through those points while he interrupts you, right? So he's a dimwit of the highest order. He's not really worth talking to because he's not interested in being talked to. Not only Brett Cooper is a terrible actress, her personality isn't even right for Snow White. So their movie will be hot flaming garbage. Just watch. Hold on a second. They're casting Brett Cooper. Hold on. Brett Cooper. Actually, I think she's got a good look for it. She's just going to be a terrible actress, right? Daily Wire, Snow White. I got to tell you, actually. See, I'm actually glad that Ben Shapiro is starting to actually do what he wants to do, which is tell shitty stories. It's what he always wanted to do. Dude, really? I gotta tell you, female Ben Shapiro. I actually think they could have cast Ben Shapiro in this role, and it would have been great. They could have cast Ben Shapiro in this role, and it would have been great. Shapiro would have a good look. The woke story. Oh my God. Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let's get to it. Forget this shit. I don't care about that. The real story. Here we go. The real story. Right? Like, look at this. Looks good. Right? The thing about Snow White, okay? Here's the thing about Snow White is that it's not a difficult story to tell. It's really, really tough to mess this story up. You know what I mean? Like, visuals are a little hokey, little 2003 PlayStation, right? That looks okay. Looks okay. They got the 7 dudes. Snow White and the Evil Queen. You know what, man? I bet you I'm going to put money on the table, right? I'm going to put money on the table because okay, A, it's not a difficult story to tell, right? Real easy story to tell. B, Brett Cooper's got a good look for it, right? She does. Like, come on, she looks fine. Like, she looks great. It's not a difficult story to tell. It's not a... I don't think they're 12 dudes kneeling. Hold on. I thought that they just got 12 guys, right? Like, they just got 12... Like, they're dwarves in this. That's what they're called, Snow White and the 7 dwarves. Is that inappropriate? Is it inappropriate to call them dwarves now? I don't know what is or is not appropriate anymore. I have no idea when it comes to this. Yeah, there they are. Oh, that's not the trailer? Mystic, you just want me to watch all of this stuff, don't you? They said it was, though. Snow White and the Evil Queen full trailer. I don't care about Taylor Wires. Look, all I'm saying, it's an easy story to tell. It looks like they've got a bit of a budget, so they've got like the special effects to the degree that they need to have it. Brett Cooper looks fine. It's not a role that's very demanding in terms of acting. Like, if you can go like, oh, then you can do Snow White, right? There isn't a lot of range. It's not like Snow White has a big speech or anything, right? Basically, just stand there and look pretty. That's it. That's Snow White, right? And so I think that as long as they can cast someone in the role of the witch that's decent at all, just get Roseanne Barr. Yeah. I think it'll be fine. And you know what, man? I'm straight up, like, I know that they're doing it because they're like, there, you have the woke, and now here we're going to make a version that's unwoke. But you know what? I got to tell you, like, I am not on board with Disney. Like, I'm not one of these people that's like I think Disney is doing what it's doing for very cynical reasons. I think that they're manipulating public opinion, and they're stirring up controversy on purpose to make money for their films. I think that's what they're doing. That they're not being genuine artists. You know, like, I'm someone who actually believes in the concept of race swapping and gender swapping. But when I was in university, we did several plays exactly like that. Right? We did several plays exactly like that, where we did gender swapping and we did race swapping and we did that kind of thing. And it was interesting, and there were interesting things that we had that we saw. And one of the most interesting things is how often it kind of just stayed the same, that the story was just kind of the same, and it didn't really change things as dramatically as you think it would have changed it, which I think that by itself was, I think, fairly surprising. Especially, you know, we're in Manitoba, like it's rural Manitoba, and so from these sort of experimental perspectives and these sort of ideas of messing with where can people go and what, like, how can we alter this? Does it change things? How does it mess with people's perspectives? I've seen many Shakespeare plays that did this. Right, that changed races and did all that kind of stuff, and sometimes it fucks things up. Sometimes it changes things, right? And that people are like, I don't know about that, man. Like you can't do it really successfully in Othello, for example, right? Othello is a Moor, right? It's in the script. It's like all over the place. It's what the play's about, you know. So it's you can't really mess around too much with the Merchant of Venice, right? Like, Shylock's a Jew. That's what it's his whole speech, right? So, but I think there's opportunity for it, especially in a lot of the Disney stuff. I think there's opportunity for it, but it became pretty obvious that they weren't doing it from a place of artistic credibility. They weren't doing it from a place of let's see how this goes. Let's see what this does. Let's see what we're going to do here. It became very clear that they were doing it specifically to stir up controversy, to use as advertising for their films. That's the reason why they did it, and why they do it. And to me, that's despicable. It's despicable that they are stirring up social division and derision on purpose in order to make money through their movies. That's what Disney is doing. And so I am ostensibly in favor of anybody that wants to make a film or any piece of media that's going to stand up to what Disney is doing and say, fuck you. I don't necessarily like that the Daily Wire is saying woke as if they know what it means or as if they understand the history of it. I actually I think it's despicable that the word woke is being used to describe anything that's going on. The people that use this word woke as a pejorative are illiterate boobs and are just and don't know what the term even means or where it came from or how it even came into public consciousness. It is yet another example of white people stealing something from black people and then distorting it for their own needs. There is an argument that can be used that it's cultural appropriation, right? Like, it came out of the black community. Stay woke. Stay aware of the empire. Stay aware of what the empire can do. Stay aware. Stay woke. Stay awake to the movings of the CIA and the FBI and the State Department. Stay aware of what it can do and what it does do, right? Stay woke. And now it's become like, they made Snow White black. It's so woke. Like, yeah. Yikes. And so, like, to me, the fact that Daily Wire is actually making this Snow White film, which I bet you dollars to donuts, guys. Like, I bet you anything that it's gonna be good. I bet you anything. Like, I put money on the table right now, and I will say it's gonna be a solid 7 out of 10. That they're gonna make a solid 7 out of 10 film. That unless they decide to go in the completely other direction and make it really cringy as fuck, you know what I mean? Where like they're if they literally say the word woke, you know, if they go the other direction and make like a political statement, which is the thing that they're complaining about in the first place. But if all they do is tell the story straight, if that's all they do, right? Solid 7 out of 10. I'm calling it now. She looks great, right? Like she looks just as good as any Hallmark movie, right? She looks great. I bet you the actors that they get to play the 7 dwarves are going to be great, right? I bet it's going to be strong cast. To me, it really, and like the prince basically just needs to be a handsome man, right? Who just kind of rides in, gives her a peck, and that's the end of it. So it really comes down to who they get for the queen. That's it. Right? That's all they've got to do. And what this all should tell you, right? What this should tell you, okay, is how badly Disney and Marvel and all these stupid studios have completely fucked up. That along comes the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire, and they're going to make a Snow White story, and it's probably going to do good. It's probably going to be good. Right? I agree with you, Compton. The trouble is that she has been very vocal on social media. That's the problem. That if you actually look up what she's been doing, she has been antagonizing people along these lines, along these racial lines. So she's clearly been given a directive from Disney to be antagonistic on purpose. This is what I'm talking about, right? That it isn't just we cast a black Little Mermaid or a black Snow White and we're going to see that and here it is, here's the performance. We'll let you talk about it. It's that the actresses are going out and intentionally being derisive on purpose. And it's obvious. Like, it's obvious. If you're not just on their side completely, and if you aren't bought in to the whole, like, vote blue no matter who, we'll push them to the left kind of thinking, blue MAGA shit, and you're actually looking at it as, like, an outside perspective, you're like, yeah, they're obviously being derisive. Like, they're obviously stirring up discontent on purpose. They're obviously doing it. And that, to me, is completely objectionable. Like, even if you are correct, right? Even if you are correct, going around and being this smug person in public, dunking on people in interviews and on Twitter, like, it's just so class. Is the Daily Wire owned by Disney? Dude, tell me. Hold on. Cotton may have just introduced. Is the Daily Wire owned by Disney? Are we looking at 4D chess? Hold on. Who owns... No, I don't think it does. Who owns the Daily Wire? That would be... Dude, this would be so funny. No, it's Ben Shapiro. It's for sure Ben Shapiro. Hey, Vince, how you doing, bud? Been a minute. Is there anything straight about Snow White? Yeah, Snow White's like a pretty straight story. Pretty straightforward, right? Queen banishes Snow White because she's too pretty. Snow White hangs out with these dwarves for a minute. Queen hunts down Snow White and has her eat a cursed apple, putting her into an eternal slumber. Straight guy shows up, gives her a kiss. She comes back. It's pretty straight. Yeah. The dwarves are pretty gay. I think that the dwarves were always sort of intentionally non-sexual. You know, I think that was more or less they had a magical. They're sort of magical beings within the story. Content, you got me again, you fucking guy. Every time, Content, you say this shit, and I'm just like, really? Oh, we better pursue this thing that Content said. God, every time, Content, just talking shit, you guy. It's cool, dude. Sometimes I need it, man. Today's been good. You know why today's been good? I'm in a bit of a silly mood, and I'm happy about that. Because these are very serious times that we're in. This is all very serious, what we're experiencing out here in the world, right? And it's like, it's too much. It's too much to know that when I'm at work and like I'm doing my stuff and helping people, that I'm like, enjoy your genocidal day, right? Hi, I hope you pay your taxes to support that genocide. We're making a lot of money to pay for that genocide. Right? Like, literally everything I do has this just tinge of, like, this is how I'm supporting the genocide. Ha 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 ha. And everybody's just supposed to walk around and be like, this is normal. What a normal day we're having. Wow, it's really beautiful today. What a beautiful day we're having. Man, we're so blessed. Man, it's getting hotter every single day. Have you noticed? What a beautiful, normal day we're having. Yeah, we're so blessed with the beautiful weather we're having. I'm like, yeah, it's suspiciously beautiful. And people go, yeah, haha, well, have a good day. Like, it's crazy. And just like, we're just supposed to like take it. Leroy, good to see you, my man. Good to see you. Did you hear Abby Martin's interview with Maya Khalifa? I haven't heard the interview, but I saw that it was being done, and I'm definitely going to listen in. I'm in love with Abby Martin. I've said it so many times on this stream, you guys. I'm not going to back off on it. Like, I think that she's so cool. I think that she's beautiful. I would love to take her to dinner. Abby Martin, Maya Cal, she has a husband and a kid and the whole thing, so that's never gonna happen. Never ever gonna happen. I'm never even gonna talk to this person, right? Of course, we put in Maya and we get all the just like her being a babe pictures. Okay, I'm gonna get banned off. No, Abby Martin. Yeah, it's just like right here, right? Like, for those who don't know, Maya Khalifa, I always can never pronounce his name. She had a contract with Playboy and got removed from Playboy for her stance on Palestine. But she is a Palestinian, or she has like connections to Palestine. So it's like, it was like the beginning of the purges, right? And since then we've experienced a ton more, right? I'm so happy that Abby Martin is actually interviewing her. Oh, that's fine. Look, I don't judge, okay? Like, if you guys want to have a conversation about porn and sex workers and porn stars and their validity in the conversation, right? I'm not like one of the like some communists lose their fucking mind. Like socialists can be very, very regressive about this. Look, you got to make money how you got to make money, and also I don't know why we're supposed to be afraid of sex. Like, I don't know why we're supposed to suddenly be like, breasts, goodness me. Oh, like, what are you talking about? Like for real? Like, what are you actually talking about? The shit that I have seen today, I accidentally see people get beheaded almost daily now. You understand? Like, I can literally just be like scrolling around on Reddit, and I'll just like scroll through my scroll, and there'll just be a kid whose skin is burnt off. And I'll just be like, okay, cool. That's just something I get to see now. You can just see like people's brains get blown out. You can just see people like with their legs shot off and just like blood covering them. We could play video games where people's skulls are ripped out of their head and shoved up their assholes, right? But if I were to scroll through and suddenly there would be a picture of a woman with her boobs out, just being like, hello, boobs. Everyone would be like, oh, goodness me! Oh, my goodness me! Yeah, it just feels kind of a little childish. Like, that's how it feels. It feels a little childish. That if I were to download a Mortal Kombat game, I could literally burn people alive or, like, vomit acid into their mouths and watch them dissolve. But if there was a character in the background who was topless, that would be the scandal. So, yeah, if you want to have the conversation about how capitalism has interacted with pornography, if you'd like to have a conversation about how capitalism is interacting with our sexuality, right, that's a conversation to have, okay? But what we are doing is saying sex is bad. That's what has happened in our society. That those who actually engage in sex at all, to any degree whatsoever, are bad. And I'm just like, no, nope, full stop, hard no from me. Like, absolutely. I think that's little kid thinking. That you can have a big conversation, we should have a big conversation about how capital is interacting with our sexuality and with sex, right? And how capitalism, but it's all the same stuff. Right? It's the exploitive nature of it. It's the perversion of it. It's the distortion of it. It's the grotesque nature of capitalism that takes things that are beautiful and turns them grotesque. It's just more abhorrent because it's our sexuality, right? It's more abhorrent because it's our sexuality. But I like someone like Maya, people want to discredit her as a speaker or a thinker because she's a porn star. I don't care at all. Like, I don't care at all. I'm like, okay, cool. That's how she found her path to make the money that she needed to make within an exploitive, oppressive system of capital. And if it wasn't for the oppressive system of capital, are you going to tell me that a beautiful woman should not be able to be beautiful? Like, no, sorry. Like, full stop from me. Like, hard no, man. Like, I am not anti-sex. I am not going to be repressive. Like, I think that we should find, as a society, a healthy way to express our sexuality, and that is going to be without the system of capital. That the system of capital is what's making things really weird, right? Because it's turning our sexuality into a commodity. That's something that we were born with sexual parts that we were born with, is now being commodified and repackaged and resold to us. It's weird. It's weird what's going on, right? And so if that's the conversation you want to have, and you want to have a conversation about the exploitive nature of capital and how it interacts with our sexuality, yeah, we can have a really interesting conversation about that. But if you're going to try to convince me that sex itself is bad, Womp womp womp. Do 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 bow do bow. I learned the other day that there's a far-right group in Canada called the Diagolon, which wants to merge Canada with the U.S. and create a huge white state. Yeah. Fascists are weirdos, eh? That's definitely not going to happen. It's going to be the other direction, right? Canada and the United States are going to break apart. They're not going to join together. Yeah, people aren't afraid of sex. We are all sensitive of sexual predation. And it's been made super aware of it. Yeah, I think that's part of it for sure. Like, the people at the very top of the chain are pedophiles and rapists, right? Like guys like Donald Trump, we know about Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island, right? Like, we know all about it. So it's like the most powerful people in the society are weird, creepy sex freaks. And it makes it pretty difficult to go out into the dating scene, you know? And it doesn't help that, like, pornography is creepy and weird, right? Like, it is. It's creepy and weird. Like, it isn't actually just like, hello, I'm a beautiful woman. Hello, I'm a beautiful man. Well, beautiful woman and beautiful man come together and engage in the sexual act. And we'll all witness two beautiful people enjoying. It's always like step bro. There's all this step bro, stepsister shit everywhere. And it's constantly like this incest shit is just constant. I feel like, and there's always like the underlying like pro-rape shit that exists within rape. The like women in a predicament and men taking advantage of it. And it's all like being put to us as if it's all like, yeah, this is just playful. Ha ha. And I'm like, Why is there a market for this? Why is there a market for this? Why does this market exist? Why is there this market? Yep. Step by definition isn't incest. That's right. That's definitely right. It's exactly one step removed from incest. It's incest adjacent. You are technically correct, Just Me. You've done it. Definitely it isn't incest on purpose, but it makes you think about incest. It brings in, like, why even bring it into the conversation at all? Why even bring it into the conversation at all? Why even say it? Like, they always make it very clear. Hello there, stepsister. Stepbrother. How are you today, stepbrother? Well, stepsister. Like, they're very specific. They've got to make you clear. But this is what Capital does. It makes something that should be just like really, really like, we should be having fun with this shit. It should be fun, right? Like, sex should be fun, and it should be easier than this by a lot. By a lot, you guys. Like, it's embarrassing how difficult this has gotten. Like, it's ridiculous. What is stopping them from doing actual bro and sis rather than step bro, step sis? Certain states, I believe, have actually passed legitimate laws that, like, incest was actually, like, throughout the southern states, there are literally billboard campaigns that are about fighting against incest. Like, incest has become like a real thing that exists in states, and so certain states have basically said, if you produce media that is pro-incest at all, it is banned and we are going to fine you. And so the pornography industry has just basically been like, oh, okay, step bro. And that's the sidestep, right? Step bro, what are you doing? You must be a connoisseur. I am a pornography connoisseur. I don't know, guys. Like, I feel like everyone just needs to get over themselves This whole concept of like, well, I'm not doing it. Yeah, you are. Fuck you. Everyone has their pornography. Shut up. Like, do not tell me you don't. I don't believe you. Right? Everybody does something to something. And nobody wants to talk about it because it's kind of embarrassing. Right? It is. It's embarrassing. Right? It's like we don't talk about how we pee. We don't talk about how we poop. Right? But everybody poops. Right? And everybody pees. Well, everybody fucking gets horny, and everybody wants to have sex, and everybody wants to have orgasms, right? Except there's always one person in chat who will bring it up, so I'm getting ahead of it now. My asexual brothers and sisters, I see that you are out there. I value you and appreciate you. Thank you for being here. I value your input in the conversation. From sea to shining sea. They're the vast majority of us. In a way, I got to tell you, the asexuals, boy howdy, I'm kind of jealous, honestly. I'm kind of jealous of these people who are just like, well, I feel fine. You guys want to go knit? Like, just these people who don't have this, right? That there's this like impulsive drive that just comes out of you that's just like, ah! And that you have to deal with. Right? Somehow, there's a part of you that you're in this constant negotiation with, and you've got to do it. And if you don't do it, there are consequences. You just like, it messes with you, right? It does. It does. It just messes with you. It's a major drive. And yet, if you talk about it, people are like, oh, I can't believe that he's talking about it. Can you believe that the thing that everyone experiences and wants to pursue, he's actually talking about it out loud? Yeah. Yeah, here we are. Here we go. I don't care. I'm too old to give a shit about this. It's actually hilarious that it happens. Right? It's hilarious that we have this thing. That like you can be sitting there. You just be standing in the middle of nowhere, doing nothing, just staring off, being like, popcorn's really great. I had a really nice piece of popcorn the other day. It really was great. And a person can just walk into your view, and then suddenly your consciousness just goes, boom, I believe in miracles. Where are you from? Where are you from? You that thing, yeah. And then they walk out of view, and then you're like, yeah, it was good popcorn. I really liked that. It was really nice. And that's what life is like. You're just constantly being blindsided by random, just like crazy shit that it's just normal in your life, and you just experience it, and then we like demonize this. We take this thing that exists within inside of us, and we turn it into something dirty and dingy and scary and absurd, so that we can't actually discuss it in a real and serious way. And so how do we deal with it? We repress it. We crush it down. We don't talk about it. And then what happens? People act out. That's what happens. People act out because they don't have the ability to pressure valve this shit. And then this is how you end up with incels, and this is how you end up with these fucking weirdos. This is how you end up with these guys, because they're just like these hyper repressed, just like, and then the anger comes in, and they're just full of this fucking rage. It's ridiculous. It's so fucking annoying. And it's extra annoying because it's like, we're all, come on. We're all here. We're all doing this. We're all experiencing it. Oh, but if you talk about it, you're a pervert. This guy must be a real perv. What a pervy perv this guy is. Oh my God. You mean you look at women and are attracted to them? Pfft, disgusting. Yeah, so many people get offended by breastfeeding women. Yeah, there's a woman at a shitty church my parents forced me to go all the time that scolded a woman for breastfeeding during a service. Like, embarrassing. That's the most embarrassing shit ever in my life ever. Right? The establishment that I work at, we're actually very pro, like we're very open, we're very progressive in a lot of ways. And women know this. That it's like I have definitely turned corners, and there has just been a woman with her breasts out breastfeeding a child. And you got to be like, okay, we're bouncing off that. You don't want to be the guy standing there, right? You got to bounce off that. But it's like, people should be free to do this stuff, right? Like, we are literally the only creatures in this reality that wakes up in the morning and puts all this clothing on to walk outside. Everything else is just chilling. Every other creature you look at is naked. All the time, constantly. All the time, constantly. They're just naked all the time. And we're the advanced species. Yeah, we're super smart. Clothes. Yeah, how dare a mother do normal mother shit? Yep. Like, it's not about the breast, it's about the behavior. Behaviorism is a big problem. Yeah, but I think that behavior comes from a place of repression. That's what I think it is. I think that we repress it, we bottle up, so we don't know how to act. And so we just let the energy carry us away. And eventually the energy will carry you away, especially if you're a young man experiencing the energy for the first time. Like, these kids are just getting testosterone dumps, man. Like, really, like, you're just like a little kid chilling out in the world, and then all of a sudden, and you're just blindsided by this shit. And a huge segment of the population is like, don't talk about it, abstinence. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Don't talk about it? What are you talking about? Like, that's crazy. That's just a crazy way to deal with anything. Like, Amit. I don't know if I want to read this comment. Look, man, incest is creepy, okay? Incest is creepy. People who are having incest with one another, you're not going to have regular relationships with other people. That's the truth. It's creepy and it's weird. Don't do it. Don't do it! Yeah, it's socially acceptable in many cultures for women to be shirtless. Look, and oh no, people might be horny. Oh no. Guys, hold on, wait a minute. Oh, I found a flaw in the way that we're talking about this and the way that we're thinking about this. If men and women dress in a way to be revealing or provocative or somehow beautiful or appealing, then people might get horny. And oh no, that might mean that for a fleeting moment in this reality, someone might enjoy themselves. And if those people are just enjoying themselves for free, how do we sell them shit? Oh, of course, it's all coming together. Like you have built within your body a pleasure center. Did you know this? That you have built within your the framework of your existence. To all of these people who are like walking around being like, life is about suffering. Suffering builds character, and you're supposed to experience the suffering, and that's how you become a better person, is you experience suffering. So why did your body have a pleasure center? And why is it like right in your basement? It's like right in exactly the most important part of you. Like you got to explain this to me. If life is about suffering, and I'm supposed to think that this is all dingy and dirty and perverse and all this kind of stuff, then why is it literally built in? What kind of cruel, ridiculous, mendacious God do you believe in that's actually saying, haha, we'll make them feel good when they have sex, but it'll be wrong and I'll send them to hell? Like, hey, just me, however you want to do it, man. However it happens. Right? No bra straps allowed to be seen. Young men can't concentrate in school. Or crazy thought, right? Crazy thought. We literally train people to be not dill holes. How about that? How about we say, hey, we understand that you're experiencing something, right? Because we're all fucking adults and we're not children, right? And we say to the children, you're experiencing something. Let's have a discussion about it and maybe set some boundaries for you and maybe say, like, hey, there's an appropriate way to act and an inappropriate way to act, right? In a patriarchal system, incest is the inevitable consequence at the top of the pyramid scheme in order to keep it in the family. Just like fucking brutal. Just fucking brutal. Part what drives me nuts about the sex conversation is a way for women to be demonized and victim blame her. Yeah. That's interesting, and it's always been this way. Like, if a man has sex with 500 women, he's like the greatest guy that ever lived, and everyone's high-fiving this guy. If a woman has sex with 2 men, she's a whore. Like, it's weird. Like, we're a weird society in this way. It's a very strange, backwards way of looking at the whole thing. Like, really, it's a really weird and strange and backwards way that we look at this stuff. And there's been a resurgence of it in the manosphere, right? What's your body count? What's your body count? That's become a big thing. What's your body count? I remember there was this really great girl who, a great young lady that they went up and they were going around saying, what's your body count? And she just straight out looked into the camera and was like, if you care about this, you are not ready for a relationship. Full stop. If you are still saying this out loud and you care about this at all, you are not ready for an adult relationship. And they like published this in order to try and be like, oh, what a slut. And it just was like, that's exactly correct. Like, if you actually genuinely care about people's body count, fuck off. Like, you're not interested in a real relationship. You're interested in having a purity trophy. You're interested in having like a virginal young lady for you to control and corrupt. That's what you're interested in, right? You're not actually interested in like, you're not actually interested in a real genuine connection and genuine conversation with somebody that you're actually going to fall in love with, right? And you want to get into this like kind of hyper monogamous, very possessive position. For clarity, I think monogamy is weird. What's up with monogamy? What's the story there? Why is everybody all like, we'll be together forever, ride or die, the two of us, absolutely. Really? Why? It seems weird. Seems like an odd decision. You know what I mean? Seems very much like we've got 2 people who are desperately embarrassed about their own sexuality and are desperately terrified of their own bodies, who finally like sign a piece of paper that says it's totally cool for the 2 of us to be naked together, right? And then they experience this like hyper sense of embarrassment, and they've like given themselves permission by God himself. God himself ordains that it's totally fine for you to take your clothes off in front of each other. You won't go to hell, and it's good actually, because you signed the piece of paper. And then they like get through all of the like hyper embarrassment and they like do it all together and they're like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, ride or die. We did it. Wow. Like, is there a bigger sign that we live in like a super hyper fucked up society? Is there a bigger sign than this? Right? Like, and I'm not saying, like, go out and be a whore or be a slut or whatever. Like, I'm not saying, like, do what you want, right? I don't, that's sort of more or less the point. Like, do what you want. But just, like, boy, howdy. Like, the shaming is so outrageous. It's so outrageous. It's so ridiculous. We're born with these drives. We have the desire for sex, very, very obviously. It definitely has been commodified and perverted by the system of capital. For sure, that has happened. And there's definitely like dark predatory elements to it, for sure. Like there is with fucking everything that has to do with humanity. But the idea that I should feel bad about it, that it's like, no, like, no, I'm not going to. Sorry, like, fuck off with that. And it just feels like every single time I start talking about this, right? Every single time I start talking about this, I just know that there's somebody out there who's just going to be like, this guy's a real perv. He's talking about how enjoyable sex is. And so to tie it all back into how this all started, right? Mia Kalklaflo, right? I don't actually know how to pronounce her name at all. Whoop. I genuinely do not care that she's a porn star. Like, I have seen her naked. I have seen her have sex with people. I don't understand why this means I'm supposed to invalidate her as a person. I don't know why that means that suddenly she's not a person, or that her opinion even means less. Like, oh, here is a young lady who has all she's ever done in her entire life is make people feel good. That's it. That's all she's ever done. Right? That's better than bankers. That's better than lawyers. That's better than doctors. That's better than politicians. Right? Like that's better than huge segments of our society. Right? But she's at the bottom. Why? Well, she took the easy route. I don't fuck off. I don't care. Like who gives a shit at all? Like I don't understand at all. Mia Khalifa. The problem is that it's not on the screen right now, looking to see. That's the problem. Mia Khalifa. Mia Khalifa. Like, and so if she's gonna stand up and talk about her experience with losing employment due to her political position, then she's just as valid as anybody else. She's just as valid as Susan Sarandon losing her position, right? Like it seems to me that we have created this like status for sex workers that I find to be a bit odd. And I'm super happy that Abby Martin is interviewing her and actually getting this out so that, first of all, people who do porn can be humanized, because that to me is where it all is stemming from. That these people are not human to us, right? That people view porn stars and porn star is sort of a weird word, but people who do porn or people who do sex work as inhuman somehow, that they're just an object. This is objectification is what it's called, right? And that the only way a person can actually get off is if the person they're getting off with is an object to them. And they don't want that person to be humanized, because if they're a human, then they can't get off on them. Weird, right? It should be exactly the opposite direction. It should be exactly the opposite. That the more these people are humanized, the more attractive they become. That's the way it should actually be. And so I'm so glad that Abby Martin is humanizing these people, right? Is absolutely humanizing them. Because like, it would be like watching, like, it'd be like watching a Marvel movie and just being like, the guy that played Robert Downey Jr., what a piece of shit. Right? Just because he's done it. Like, and really the only difference, like, what is the big difference? Right? The big difference is that sex is involved, and that's it. But in terms of like the actual steps along the way, it's basically the same shit. It's just a different kind of pornography. It's like CIA porn. Yeah, why are the people who exploited her are okay and she can't even speak out? Yeah. And that's an interesting thing. Like the pimps, like throughout the 90s, pimping was actually cool. There's this archetype that exists in our society, the pimp, right? And that somehow pimping is like pimping ain't easy, right? That somehow pimping is okay. It's cool to be a pimp. It's cool to exploit women for sex and to exploit their vulnerability and to exploit the position they're in, to become a worthless middleman running essentially a protection racket while keeping these women in like a harem-like situation, right? Big Pimpin' was a banger song, right? So being a pimp, totally cool in our society, absolutely cool, respectable even. Andrew Tate is a prime example. Yeah, Andrew Tate's a great example of this. That we're all still supposed to tolerate this guy. We're all still supposed to be like, yeah, did you hear what Andrew Tate had to say about it? Let's have a discussion about what Andrew Tate had to think. Fuck off, Andrew Tate. The only thing you need to know about Andrew Tate is because he's all like, I escaped the Matrix while doing everything they told me to do. Bugatti, like, yeah, they're not used to seeing a sex worker being smart. Yeah, and like a lot of them are, That's what's interesting. Like if you, there's another Whitney Cummings. You can find her show. I forget the name of her show. It's something really simple. It's got good in the title. It's like Get Good, but it's not like that. It's like good stuff. I forget the name of it, but Whitney Cummings, her show, she interviews a ton of porn stars, and they're all very smart, articulate people. Like, they're just regular, normal people walking around in the world. Like, you sort of expect them to be like, well, yeah, but they're not. Right? They're not. They actually have a head for, like, business. They actually know what they're doing. Like, some of them have, like, multi-million-dollar empires, right? Some of them have more wealth than you do or ever will. Like, so I actually agree with Andrew Tate on Palestine. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Yeah, even Andrew Tate knows that it's a genocide, right? Like, that's how bad it's gotten. That Andrew Tate is above the genociders. Porn should be cleaned of the rapey shit and elevated to a form of art. Well, I mean, you think about like something like the Kama Sutra, right? Like, there have been societies where sex and sexuality has been considered that way, right? And we've got tons of it. Like, we've got tons of art that's just like very pornographic and very straightforwardly this kind of way. That it's interesting. Like, it's interesting that we as a society are living in this very like pro-rape and rape culture-ish kind of place. We are like that. Right? Like a lot of it is this way. And there is like this theory of like art reflecting life and life reflecting art. And so if your pornography is like, if everyone's happy and lovely and there's like a big field, and like back in the 70s, pornography was like a group of friends getting together and having an orgy, right? It was like all very like Alice in Wonderland and like shit like this. And it was all very like fluffy. There was like a fluffiness to it. There's like a playfulness to everything that was being done. And then today's modern day porn is like, there's like this BDSM, like kink.com underpinning to everything. And everything's like, so it says something about the society that there's this desire that exists within us, that it's not fun or playful, that there's a brutality to it, that the violence that we inflict and project into the world is infecting our sexuality in a big way. And you can see it. It's visible, right? Like it's really really crazy fucked up. Oh yeah, of course. No, everybody's repressed right now. This is a time of repression. I mean, I'm not kink shaming. I'm just letting you know that it's interesting, right? It's interesting that pornography has become infused with violence in a very serious way, right? Like, that's real. And it didn't used to be that way. Like it's become this force in our society, and it looks like it's and to me it aligns pretty closely with the empire's reaching out in the Middle East, and the awareness of the society, that the awareness that the society has of the violence that it's been spreading, right? Like, I think I am actually a believer in the idea, like, this is why I was never against violent video games. I've never been against violent video games, because I do think that violent video games there's a catharsis there. There's a way to express it. That the theory of people who have been against violence in video games has always been that it's making people violent, and to me it's the opposite. That it allows people to expel violence, right? Like, as I've gotten older and as I've calmed down, I'm less attracted to violent video games, right? Because I'm just not as violent a person. And in my view, and it is because I'm older, frankly, but some of these video games have gotten, like, so violent that it's, like, unbelievable. And to me, the juxtaposition of the level of violence that exists in our society compared to the sexuality that exists in our society, that juxtaposition of how the society responds to these two things is really, really interesting, right? It's really, really interesting. Yeah, in the 60s, look, I understand what you're saying, Just Me, but, like, it wasn't like this. It wasn't on the same kind of level that it is now. It's in a new spot. It's in a new place, but pretty clearly, like pretty clearly, like it's not, there isn't like a titter to it. It's not like tee-hee, right? Like it's like there's like a systemic institution that exists specifically to proliferate this stuff, and there's nothing funny about it at all. Like, it's violence and it's torture intentionally, on purpose, infused with pornography, on a level that has not existed in the media before. Like, it's pretty wild. Dude, kink.com exists. Like, Chris Hedges has written about it. Like, it's like, but this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is just what I'm talking about. Like, it's extreme. It's crazy extreme. It's way more extreme than it's ever been. Way more extreme. And it's the normalization of the extremity. I think that's really what it is. Like, maybe perhaps you could find extreme stuff in, like, the 60s and 70s and 80s. Like, maybe it existed, but you would have to go and find it. Right? You would have to go and look for it intentionally, on purpose. You'd have to seek it out. You'd have to talk to somebody. There would have to be a magazine. There'd have to be some kind of person. There'd be like a whole thing to pursue this and to find out about it, right? Now you just can see it on a stream or a scroll or something. You're just literally there scrolling through, and there it is, just some crazy shit. It's just in your face, and they're just like, ha ha. And you're just supposed to be like, okay. I guess that's normal. Right? So it's like, it's the normalization of the violence, right? It's the normalization within the distribution. It's the normalization of it within the society. That it's just, and there's no pushback at all. That when it shows up, it's just kind of like, okay, there it is, and off it goes, right? No, of course there's vanilla porn. Anybody can do vanilla porn. Look, if I can set up a camera with a microphone, anybody can set up a camera with a microphone. Yeah, and I don't know how it is in gay porn, Just Me. Right? Maybe it's actually a really nice thought to think that, like, maybe gay porn is just really nice. Maybe gay porn is just a bunch of men being really nice to each other. Wouldn't that be great? Right? Just everybody watching, just like really, like, everybody's holding hands and like hugging, giving each other gentle kisses. So I don't know how it is on that end, man. That's not me, but you do you. Yeah, let's get off this subject. I've been talking about this a lot. So to finish it off, Abby Martin, have I learned anything? Mia Khalifa? Did I do it? Mia Khalifa. I fucking did it. I'm the greatest. Hooray. I'm looking forward to listening to this interview. I think Abby Martin is amazing. I think she's absolutely one of the strongest people out there to listen to. And I'm so happy that she actually is taking someone like Mia seriously in this time, because Mia's story is very serious. It's a very serious story, right? She's being blacklisted, and she's being blacklisted for speaking out against a genocide. So I'm looking forward to listening to that interview. Let me just get here. Somebody has asked a question in Twitch, which is sort of inspiring the shift away from the conversation about our sexuality. And now you can all go away and be like, what an absolute perv this guy is, John. Likes women. What? What do you think of Jordan Peterson? He was actually the first Canadian I ever knew. I got 15 minutes on the clock. We're going to end with Jordan Peterson. Fantastic. So, if you found Jordan Peterson to be useful in your life, right? If you listened to one of his lectures, or if you read 12 Rules for Life and you thought to yourself, you know what, this is the kick in the pants that I need to clean up my room, to grind my nose down into that thing that I've been not grinding my nose down into, right? Great. Good for you, right? At the high, like, I hope that he has been useful to you in that regard, right? That if that's all Jordan Peterson was, and if that's all he was doing, I would not say boo about him at all. I would literally, and this is what I used to say about him. I used to say, like, the guy is just kicking people in the pants and telling them to get their shit together. That's all he's doing, right? That's what 12 Rules for Life was. That's what it is. But as we've moved down the garden path, right? As we've held Mr. Peterson's hand, and as we've moved down the garden path together as a people, it's become pretty clear that this guy is a simp for capital, that he is completely in the thrall of capital, that he is directing people in such a way to fall into the place of capitalist realism, right? Capitalism is human nature. You can't do anything about it. This is just, it's scientifically built in. The hierarchies can't be negotiated with. If you overturn a hierarchy, a new one will just take its place. And so in that way, he's actually, like, he's essentially an arch conservative, right? He doesn't want to be thought of that way, but he is. That's why he calls himself a classical liberal or any of this kind of shit. He's an arch conservative. Like, he's the definition of a conservative. That the only solution that can exist is you. You must do it yourself, and there's nothing else. To me, the biggest condemnation I have, or the biggest critique, rather, I have of Jordan Peterson is that he has no solutions. That even when you present legitimate societal problems that are legitimate and obvious, and they're obviously a problem that obviously need to be addressed, he has no solutions. And so my feeling on him has steadily become, if you have no solutions, why should we listen to you? That if you want to enter the conversation and have something to say, you better have some goddamn solutions. And if you're not going to present a solution, if all you're ever going to do is shrug and say, well, that's just the way it is, human nature, get the fuck out. I don't care what you think. You're not useful. You're just wasting everybody's time. And it's this waste of time that I think he is doing intentionally. I think that this has become the strategy of capital. One of the strategies of capital is to just have people say a lot in order to clutter the conversation so that what's being said must be deciphered first before it's responded to. That Peterson is essentially intentionally stupid and intentionally obtuse. And when he finally really outed himself, on Joe Rogan with his climate change denialism, right? He finally really, his climate change denialism is what finally did him in. Like his whole, are we back? Did it happen? Somebody type into chat if we're back. I just had a little disconnect moment. Someone let me know. Yeah, he implies a lot of horrible... Yeah, thanks, guys. He implies a lot of horrible things about consent occasionally. Majority Report does a good point of talking about that. He's also against women having careers. Honestly, I think that the person who's done the best sort of expose on Jordan Peterson, there's two. The Intellectual We Deserve is a good one. This is the one that Noam Chomsky always referred to. I don't necessarily like the author that much, but this piece is fine. Like, it's a good piece. And it really delves into Jordan Peterson's incoherence as an author, and it really critiques his work. Like, one of the things that simps for Peterson don't really like to hear is that he's not really well regarded in his own profession. He's not really well regarded in his own profession. Like, sociologists don't think this guy's a genius, right? Like, sociologists are not sitting there being like, wow, you got to hear what Peterson had to say, right? Like, he's not well regarded as a sociologist. And that by itself should be pretty telling. That, like, his journey into popularity is actually very straightforwardly him lying about the nature of a bill that the liberals were passing, because the liberals passed a piece of legislation to include trans people as a recognized group of people to be protected in anti-discrimination laws, right? So trans people were included, and that's what the bill did. And Peterson turned it in and lied about it and said this turned it into a whole thing where he was going to go to jail and I won't pay the fine and all this kind of stuff. So he essentially lied about the nature of the bill. Literally lawyers and everybody were like, yeah, this bill's not going to do that. Like, it's not what this bill does, right? This bill is for if somebody gets fired because they're trans, right? This bill is if they are denied housing because they are trans, right? That's what this is. It's not if you, like, misgender someone on the street or something. Like, it's not what it's about, and it would never be about that. But so Peterson lied about it, comes into prominence based on the back of this lie that nobody corrected him on because the system of capital wanted him to be in your face, right? The system of capital finds people like Jordan Peterson useful because Jordan Peterson is fundamentally standing up in front of you, gaslighting you, saying, ignore the systemic problems of capital. Those are natural, normal, and part of human nature, and nothing can be done about it. The solution is you exclusively. You're the problem. Clean up your room. Like, they love him. Of course they love him. And the other one is, I always direct people to this. Come on, John. Some more news. Funnily enough, I literally fell asleep in front of YouTube today on my couch, and this was what played while I was asleep. So I had a dream about Jordan Peterson today. I had this dream about Jordan Peterson. Some more news. Cody Johnson. He is honestly, this guy, I think that he is an extreme professional. Like, he is one of the best. He's one of the best comedian news people out there for sure. Like, a big problem with people who kind of do this shtick or who have done this shtick is that they're not funny. Lee Camp, for example. Lee Camp is great. I love Lee Camp. I love that he is dedicated and that he's doing he was one of the people who got completely shit on and blacklisted because of the Ukrainian war. He got shoved off of YouTube. He lost everything, and he's still plugging along. God bless him, Lee Camp. But he was always trying to do this Daily Show funny man shtick, and he's not funny. And the show was not funny. But the information they were giving was good, and the reporting they were doing was really good. And so that's the reason why the show was successful. Cody Johnson, on the other hand, has that same kind of level, but is also very funny. And I think he is funny because he understands that he needs to actually be funny and a character. Whereas Lee Camp was always just like, isn't that great? It's wow, the hypocrisy. And would try to like do a one-liner that was badly written and didn't work about the subject. Whereas this guy kind of understands that it's about showing you the most horrible things, but then creating like a character or a subplot line of comedy that runs throughout the thing that actually acts as distraction and acts as a way to alleviate the horror and the tension while also keeping your attention. So, and this guy's expose on Jordan Peterson is the best I've ever seen. It's very strong. Yeah, Lee Camp's show was on RT. That's why it was removed from YouTube. Sure. Sure. It wasn't that it was very effective. And Chris Hedges also got removed. Abby Martin also got removed. Right? It wasn't that they were speaking out against the Empire, right? No, it was because they were on RT, for sure, yeah. The final thing that I will say about Jordan Peterson is that I've always been there's always a part of me that's always a little sympathetic to him. Because I do believe that we are mainly being pulled through reality. That people are dealing with the situation as it's coming to them, and they only post-rationalize. That's how I think most people operate. Most people post-rationalize, that they just they follow their instincts and they follow their gut and they make decisions based on that, and then they post-rationalize their decisions. And through that process of post-rationalization, you can do a lot of revision about your own life, and you can do a lot of revisionism about the events and how they unfolded. And I think that's how most people operate. That's how most people operate in the world, is they post-rationalize. And Peterson's life and the trajectory that he has taken is actually kind of pathetic. Like that's the thing that I think is sort of the saddest about Peterson, is that he's kind of a pathetic figure in the end. That he worked his entire life to become a sociologist and to become a psychologist and to help people through psychology. And then through the process of this grabbing onto this fame and the wealth that it brought, he essentially burnt every single bridge behind him, sold out his own career, really took a dump on his own legacy and his own work, maps of meaning and all this kind of stuff, threw his chips in with far-right radicals, and has become essentially a climate change denialist. Like, history is going to look back on this guy as a total fucking loser. Like, that's how it's going to be for him. That no one in his own profession is going to regard him well. And no one with any historical reading whatsoever is going to look at him with sympathy. And most importantly of all, I think the moment he dies, he'll be forgotten, mainly. That even the people who found him to be useful in the brief moment that they connected with him will essentially forget about his existence. Because that's how we are. And that Jordan Peterson's legacy will be the bank account that he leaves behind. And that's it. That will be his legacy. That he will have done some shows and gotten some people and had like a rah-rah and conned a lot of people into believing a false narrative. Because that's what he's peddling, is a false narrative. And the reason why I think it's sad, and it's very sad, is because initially I think he was coming from a place of genuine caring. I think that he really was trying to say to people, look, there is a way to improve your life. Buck up. You can do it. You just need to start small. Do small things. You can take control of this. You can do that. And I think that that is actually true. I actually do believe this. I believe this. That if you are sitting there thinking that everything's out of control and everything's difficult and everything's ridiculous and I'm losing control, well, you know what you do have control of? You have control of your own bedroom. You do. And you think that the forces of the universe are swirling out of control and you can't do anything about it and you can't grab a hold and you can't do any of that kind of stuff. Well, you clean up your room. And suddenly you'll look at that and you'll go, oh, wait a minute. I can take control of the things that are around me. And I have permission in this space. No one is allowed to come in here but me. And if anybody comes in here without my permission, I can literally have them arrested. What happens in this space is exclusively my business. And so you're goddamn right I can clean this up. And if I can clean this up, then I can go into the kitchen and I can clean that up. And if I can do that, then I can go into the bathroom and I can clean that up. And if I can do that, then I can walk outside my door and I can start cleaning that up too. And if that's what he was doing, and that is what he was doing. That is what he was doing. And he sold all of that out for money. He sold every single piece of that out for money. So that he could become a climate change denialist and be known as a fraud. It's pathetic and it's sad. And it's what capitalism will do. It's what capitalism will do to every single one of us. That's what wealth does. That's what the promise of fame and the promise of wealth can do. Which is why I always say, I say it as a challenge to the universe and a promise to myself. If I end up with 6 numbers in a bank account, I will start handing it out. Because I am not going to end up like that. I am not going to end up like that. I'm going to go to my grave with nothing in my bank account, having handed it out to every single person. People who just I don't even know. Take it. I don't give a shit. John, aren't you concerned they're going to do drugs with it? I hope they do. Enjoy your time here for even a fleeting moment. I don't give a fuck. John, what if they just waste it? Okay, I don't give a shit. Did they enjoy themselves for 2 seconds? I don't care. All of the judgment, all of the denigration, all of the turning away. I don't understand why anyone thinks that I think the opinion of this society has any credibility whatsoever. You know what I'm going to do with my wealth? I'm not going to be like Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or any of these people and just sit on it and jerk off. I'm going to walk outside my door and I'm going to hand it to people. Because this idea that we can't improve the world around us, of course we can. Of course we could. You know how Elon Musk could actually improve the world around him? He could walk down to those homeless encampments and he could give each and every one of those guys $100,000. And it wouldn't cost him a thing. He wouldn't even notice it. He could literally house all of those people personally. And he wouldn't even notice it. Oh, they signed the giving pledge. Yeah, I'm sure. Right. Yeah, that giving pledge, the Gates and Melinda, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is straight up a business. And it's a business. They're like, we're not going to give any of our money to our children. We'll just give them the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That's definitely a fucking business. Charity. Yeah, if you're fucking gullible. Like, just because they bribed a politician to stamp a thing doesn't mean that it's a fucking charity. It's a business, and their kids will inherit it. Like, what are we, rubes? Yeah. Until I see these people walking around with dollar bills in their hands, handing them to people, I don't believe a thing these people say. I don't believe a thing these people say. And that's exactly what I intend to do. So that's my challenge to the universe and my promise to myself and to you. If I ever become rich, and not even rich, six numbers. Not 7, 6. I'm just going to start handing it out. I don't give a fuck. Like, you know what my opinion of wealth accumulation is? All you're doing, the wealth that exists in your bank account when you die digs a deeper hole. Straight down to hell. And the wealth you give away before you die builds a bigger pile. Up to heaven. That's how I think of it. Well, with all that in mind, I hope you guys are doing well out there. I hope that this helped you. I know it helped me. I feel a lot better. Helps me every single time. I hope it's helping you out there. Always remember, each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Revolt. Rebel. Repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.